All right, guys, welcome to Press X Podcast, episode 114. I think I have it correct this week. Last week, I think I had the podcast episode labeled like episode 112 for the entirety of the episode, but it was actually 113. So don't think I'll be making that mistake today. Hopefully not. Episode 114. But thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for waiting patiently, as always. As the intro credits roll, always gives me a little bit of time to kind of keep preparing what I got to prepare and get ready. But yeah, it's been a pretty saying see what he's saying. This week flew by. Yeah, I mean, this week has been pretty. No, it's been quick, yeah, but it's also been pretty quiet. You know, like not a whole lot going on, in with gaming, and this thing keeps falling, whatever. But yeah, not a whole lot going on. Definitely some interesting rumors though to cover. I think that works. Yeah, we're expecting some news this week, for sure. For sure. I mean, it's Sunday, so technically the new week has started. But I'm going to let you guys know some of the topics that we're going to be discussing. Give me 1 second to want to pop out the chat here. Yeah, I'll give you a quick rundown of some of the the topics I have. Okay, so we're obviously going to talk about God of War. I think that's going to be like the main topic of conversation throughout this podcast because there's really only so many other things to discuss. But you know, the big focus right now, I think, is on God of War Ragnarok, a potential state of play. You know, there's something interesting that happened just very recently that, look, I know we've been talking about it for a while, but it almost made me think, what if it's not really a state of play? What if Sony's about to have a showcase? Not expecting it, don't think that's what's happening, but there was something that popped up recently that did make me think anything is possible, right? And I'll talk about what that is, but at the very least, we are getting something regarding God of War. I think that people's expectations are, you know, they're varying. Like, some people are thinking maybe it's just going to be a release date, a new trailer. I think a lot of people are expecting a state of play. MBG, will you stream the Sony hardware event? I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to stream that. They have it. I mean, we kind of already know what they're going to reveal, and I just don't know that it's going to be that exciting. Like, I think that what they are revealing is interesting and potentially exciting, but I don't know that it would be something worth streaming. I'm not sure. I mean, if I do, obviously I'll let everybody know. But that's what's interesting, I think, about this whole God of War situation is if the rumors are true, which they are, at least they should be. It seems like an announcement is going to happen potentially as soon as tomorrow, which is very exciting. So yeah, we're gonna talk a lot about that. Obviously, I have some things I want to say. We will talk about the new hardware that's set to be revealed. I think that I think it's interesting the way Sony's going about this, where they're kind of separating this from PlayStation, but at the same time they want it to appeal to PlayStation. So we'll talk about that. That's going to happen in just 2 days. That's actually going to happen on Tuesday. I want to talk about Sucker Punch and how there were some recent job listings that seem to indicate they are well on their way to Ghost of Tsushima 2. And I just want to talk about that. I always like to have an excuse to talk about Ghost of Tsushima. We can talk about PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium. It is now officially out everywhere. And I just kind of want to talk about what the conversation's like around this service and how people are reacting to it, how their experience has been. Now, I haven't subscribed to it, but I've been reading what people are saying, watching some reviews and all that stuff. So I figured, we could talk about that. I'm sure some of you are subscribed as well or have upgraded. So we'll talk about that. Let me see. We're also going to talk about Sony not attending Gamescom, which is it's a little bit surprising. It is. The reason why it's a little bit surprising is because Sony traditionally does attend Gamescom, and they usually have a significant announcement or two. They've shown up at Gamescom with Death Stranding, Horizon, Ratchet and Clank, and so this year they're like, we're not going to be there. I think this is a pretty significant indication that Sony has some big plans potentially. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about this new report from Digitimes that claims that the component shortage is already easing up, which I think is very good news for Sony. I did talk about this in a video, but I kind of want to talk about it some more because I think this is going to have some greater implications than maybe people realize on the surface. We'll talk about Final Fantasy 16. There was a ton of new information for Final Fantasy 16 that was revealed. And obviously, I'll continue to talk about Final Fantasy 7 Remake. I did get more time with the game this week. I did play it more and definitely encountered some very interesting things that are going on in that game. I mean, literally the last thing I did in Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and I'm not kidding, this is literally the last thing I did, and I saved the game, is I had a squat off with multiple buff men in a gym. And I this is my first time playing this game, and I'm like, wait. I'm not kidding. Like, there's a gym, which I wasn't so surprised about there being a gym. I was like, oh, that's cool. Some buff dudes working out there. And then at some point they challenge you to a squat off, and there's actually a mini game you play. I'm sure a lot of you know about this, but I was just so surprised. This game keeps surprising me in a lot of ways. I beat all three dudes at the gym. I out squatted them and I got a trophy. But that's where I am. And I guess I thought that was funny because I'm like, they're making fun of Cloud. I just want to say, I'm going to get deeper into it later, obviously, but I just want to say that one of the funnier things was the really buff dudes that are like completely jacked are like making fun of Cloud because he's so skinny. And the one dude even like had a line where he's like, this dude doesn't even look like he gets his daily protein intake. And I'm like, it's just funny, man. I don't know. Just some of the dialogue in this game and just some of the things that pop up are just so like, wow, I would have never seen that coming, and it just makes the game all the better. I think that's one of the things I'm really enjoying about Final Fantasy 7 Remake is it's extremely unpredictable. Like I literally never know what's going to happen next, and I find myself just pleasantly surprised every time. So I will talk more in depth about. I mean, maybe I'll just start with that topic. I mean, I'm already talking about it, so I'll just do that because I feel bad because I feel like the last episode, a lot of you guys were asking me to continue to talk about my experience with Final Fantasy 7, and I made you essentially wait until the close to the end of the stream, and it was like a 4-hour stream. So maybe we could just do the opposite today. We'll talk about my continued experience with Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and then we can just kind of jump right into the God of War topic. But yeah, to give you an idea of where I am in the game right now, I think my play time, because it does do a good job at tracking your play time, is at 19 hours. So I'm 19 hours into the game. I think I'm on chapter 9 or 10. Yeah, I'm at Wall Market, and I just got done spending a lot of time with Aerith, and then now I'm at Wall Market, and I need to get Tifa And it's interesting because I didn't think that they were going to have a lot for me to do in Wall Market. I don't know why. I just kind of expected that they were just gonna breeze right through that. But there's a whole thing going on here, and I had a boss battle. And I know that for some people they're probably laughing because they're like, yeah, we've known about this, dude, even from the original game. But I fought a literal house, and I was just laughing so hard. Like that was a moment I kind of wish I was streaming. Although I gotta say that house boss battle, the Hell House, I think they call it, was a pain in the ass. Like that was actually, it was way harder than I thought it would be. And I was actually struggling, and it kind of like put me in my place a little bit where I began to realize like I am not as good at this game as I thought I was. Like that house really put me in my place. But I was laughing so hard when I first saw it because they're like they're really building it up like it's this big scary thing, and I was like, oh man, like this is a challenge round here. Like, I technically won already, but gotta add more challenge. And when they called it the Hell House, and I was like, oh, okay, it must be some kind of nickname, and it's literally a house. Yeah, I did get dragged inside, which I thought was funny because I'm like, I wonder what it looks like in there. Is it like nicely decorated and everything? But I was the boss battle just took me by surprise entirely because not only when I heard the name Hell House that I think that was a nickname, and then I was shocked to see it was actually a house, and actually it has a second form. But I was also doubly surprised by just again how tough it was. So I don't know if like from this point in the game if it gets a lot tougher, but I have to admit I barely beat it. I kept getting downed, and I think you just have Cloud and Aerith to work with, and they just kept getting destroyed back and forth, and I had to keep using I forget, what's the name? Phoenix Down, I think is what it's called. So you can revive. But I mean, it was really fun. Like, I mean, by the end, I was getting frustrated. Like, I was actually starting to be like, okay, like this boss battle with this house is getting a little bit much here. Because the thing was, I started to really feel like I'm gonna lose this battle, and that depressed me because I've been fighting this thing for like 20 minutes straight, and I'm like, please just let me get past this battle because I do not want to fight this thing again for another 20 minutes. And luckily I didn't have to, but I didn't feel so great about my victory either because I felt like I don't know, ever since I learned about how hard mode is, I mean to say. So Narcan Blitzer, you're saying, yeah, Hell House is tough, even tougher in hard mode. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm playing this, and I'm like, I'm not on hard mode, and I can barely beat this guy. And I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to do this on hard mode? But I guess that's what, makes it fun, the challenge. But, something else I want to say about Final Fantasy VII Remake, because the first portion of the game that I played, they have you spend a lot of time with Tifa and her, group. And Aerith is obviously a very different character. And it, you can tell with Aerith that they're going for very much like wholesome, innocent type thing going on here. And Tifa's more like kind of a badass that, is a fighter. And I can kind of already sense like where this is going a little bit, where it's like, oh, okay, they're, I'm assuming there's going to be some type of love triangle. I mean, I feel like I kind of already know that, but it's, oh, you know what? Something else I do want to talk about. Kyle H, you're saying Dancing Queen trophy incoming. I don't I don't know what that is. I feel like I can tell things are going to get a little strange I'm getting that feeling. You know, like the more time I spend in Walmart, which is that's such a weird name, Walmart. It makes me feel like Walmart. You're saying they're spoiling some things for me? Maybe. I mean, look, there are some things that I've heard about with this game, you know, that I kind of like I have a vague sense of, you know. Spoil it, you know, it's weird. You talk about spoilers just to go on a little side conversation here. You know, I noticed that anytime there's like a new movie that comes out, dude, it's ridiculous how if you just go on YouTube, you don't have to look the movie up. You can clear your search history, the whole thing, you know, your watch history, and you'll just like be scrolling through like recommended or whatever, just trying to find something to watch. And there will just literally be a video with a thumbnail. Like, you don't even have to read the title. The thumbnail is a spoiler. And it just ruins like a massive part of a movie. And I'm just saying this because like I don't know if you guys have been experiencing this, but I've been experiencing that like for a while now, and it sucks because it makes me not want to use YouTube like literally at all, and it's annoying as hell. And what's even crazier about it is, you know what? I'll give an example. So I don't know how many of you have been watching the Kenobi series, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series on Disney Plus, but I'm not a huge Star Wars fan at all. I used to be really into Star Wars when I was younger, and I think that's why I was just so drawn to this show, because I grew up with Star Wars Episode 1, 2, and 3, and I always thought Obi-Wan was awesome, and I was really excited to see that they brought that back, and you know, I know that people who are really, really, really eagerly anticipating these shows, they will watch the episodes like the minute they drop, which is probably the smartest way to do it. But I noticed that, like, you know, I wanted to kind of wait until the late evening or at night to just settle in and relax and watch it. And the last episode in particular, I was really interested in because I knew that, like, this is where they're going to wrap everything up and this is where they're going to have the big hoorah. And I was like, okay, I'll just watch it later tonight. And dude, I was on either Twitter and YouTube for probably no more than 10 minutes. And I didn't look anything up, dude. This stuff wasn't even in my search. Especially on Twitter is where I'm so confused because I'm not even following anything. And there's just spoilers everywhere. And I'm like, holy shit, dude. Like, I can't, and I just immediately put everything down and I'm like, I'm going to go watch this literally right now. I didn't want to watch it right now, but I really don't want it spoiled. And I'm glad, I actually really enjoyed the final episode of Kenobi. I know that a lot of people are torn on, I mean, look, Star Wars in general, I don't know, man. I really don't know how I feel about Star Wars in general, but I didn't hate the series or anything like that. I thought Kenobi was pretty good. I thought that the final episode in particular, I think they did justice. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'll just say I think that they did justice to Obi-Wan Kenobi as a character, and Darth Vader, and you know, bringing back Hayden Christensen. I thought that they did a good job, and I really enjoyed that. But there are definitely aspects of the show where I'm like, I can see why some people are not on board with this entirely. Anthony, you're saying, I'll just say, saying Final Fantasy VII Remake is unpredictable is true. As much as you think you know where things are going, you don't. It's wild. Enjoy. Yeah, dude. And that's the thing is, like, I really, you know, to jump back to Final Fantasy VII here, I really enjoy the fact with this game. You're saying justice, it broke canon, you simp. Look, man, dude, I get it. Like, I guess I'm more of a casual Star Wars fan, and I know that there's canon that people don't want broken and everything, and I respect that, and like I do completely understand how you don't want to see things ruined, but at the same time, I just have this kind of feeling that when things are around long enough, right? Like, I mean, talk about Star Wars, like 40 plus years or whatever, or I don't even I don't know how long it's been, but I know it's been decades. When something sticks around long enough, like there's gonna be things that get destroyed and ruined and tampered with, and that's just how it is, you know. And that's why some people really prefer where like you'd rather just see something end, see it kind of put away and not tampered with anymore, and just leave it as it is. But you know, and I think that that's why I was just so like okay with the Kenobi series, because I'm like, I never expected to see Ewan McGregor return as Obi-Wan Kenobi and Hayden Christensen as Anakin / Darth Vader, and I was just excited to see that. And I'm like, you know what? Even if this thing is a complete train wreck, it'll just be cool to see them back, you know, because like it is what it is. they're making the show. They're gonna do it. So, apparently that's another show I have to watch. The Boys. Everybody's been talking about that. Apparently that's really good. I have to get on that. There's too much stuff to watch, man. I've been watching a lot of Marvel movies. Me and my wife have been doing a Marvel movie marathon. We are now on to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So we're literally going in order, and it's interesting. I'm liking it so far. I think the Marvel movies are pretty good. Not like mind blowing or anything, but I'm enjoying it. Like I'm getting invested, you know? So, surprisingly, I think my favorite Marvel movie that I've seen up until this point, again, I'm on Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2. I think my favorite movie, and I think my wife's as well, is Iron Man 3. Was really, really, really good. Like that was a awesome movie. Sorry, I know I'm talking about movies and stuff right now, but you know, we got plenty of time. Right? You're saying Iron Man 3? Oh no. You're saying that was the worst? Really? That's interesting. I didn't know there was so much contention. I really enjoyed it. I liked Iron Man 1 and 2 as well, but I don't know. I just thought, I guess what I really enjoyed about Iron Man 3 is it like really humanized Tony Stark a lot more. Like, I mean, to me, it made him seem like a much more relatable character, and I think it did a really good job. I enjoyed it. So, and I saw Winter Soldier. That was good. Civil War, yeah, that one was yeah, that one was really, really intense. All right. Well, I got to say though, real quick, shout out to Logan though. I still think, I know like Logan isn't technically part of like MCU, but I mean Logan was like I think it's still the best superhero movie, like, or hero movie. Talk about a badass movie, man. That was awesome. It was basically like The Last of Us, you know, Logan, right? It was awesome. I'm really interested to see who they cast as Wolverine in the MCU, though. Like that is going to be interesting to see, because I feel very sorry for anybody who has to fill those shoes that Hugh Jackman left. Because I mean, he is Wolverine, man. I mean, I kind of wish that they would just get him into the MCU, right? Also, yeah, I'm interested to see the Blade movie that's coming up. I love Blade. Those were some awesome movies too. All right, let me get back on track here. There's an Arcane Blitzer saying, MBG, maybe there's a way to disable thumbnails on YouTube, extensions to avoid spoilers. There should be an option. Did I like disconnect here? It did that thing again. I don't know why it does that. Yeah, I don't know. I might have to look into that. I feel like I've just gotten to a point where I just accept that some things are going to be, I don't know. Like, some things are just going to be spoiled for me inevitably. Like, if I'm not going to be there day one, you know, watching, I just expect that at some point I'm going to encounter something. I just hate how easy it is, I guess, for people. Like, I just feel like people shouldn't be allowed to do that, to just straight up put a massive spoiler in a thumbnail. You know, I don't really know how YouTube could fix that, but it sucks, you know. Um, am I doing all of the side quests? I am. Yeah, I am actually. So I think I have about like 16, 17, or 18 done or something like that for Final Fantasy 7 Remake so far. Some of them are a little bit like you can tell like they put some of these side quests in here just for the sake of kind of, padding it out a little bit, which I think is fine though. And that I like normally I'm not a fan of that, but I think in this case it actually fits really well. I do, because I feel like the pacing of Final Fantasy VII is really good to where you're not constantly battling, you're not constantly fighting, and you are having these, and they are optional too, so that's, the most important part, where you can further explore and kind of, meet new characters, even though they're minor characters, and just see what's going on. World building. I think it's doing a good job. MBG, your podcasts have been gradually becoming more and more boring. Well, hey man, dude, it's June 26th this past week. I mean, how much really happened in the gaming industry, man? And not every podcast episode is going to be like the holy shit, like who knows? Next week's podcast might be crazy depending on what Sony does. So, but I mean, I hope people are enjoying it. I figured, times like this, it's okay to kind of branch out, talk about some other things. Planet Schlurpian, you're saying a little off topic, MBG, but what's the likelihood of Sony doing another handheld? I mean, I feel like it's kind of obvious, right? Like, why wouldn't Sony do another handheld of some kind? Like, I'm not saying it has to be a PlayStation Portable 2 or PlayStation Vita 2, but even just something where it's like a lightweight handheld that's cloud-based at some point. I'm not saying that's the ideal way to do it, but I mean, you look at the Steam Deck, you look at the Switch, and it's like, Sony, you were here before, Like, Sony had a hold, and they played a pretty prominent role, especially with the PSP, in the handheld console space. It's just weird to me that they just kind of gave that up. So I imagine that there is something being worked on, right? But I think Sony, I feel like where the problem lies is how Sony would want to integrate a handheld PlayStation console with the PlayStation 5 or even the PlayStation 6 at some point, right? Yeah, I mean, they are working on VR2 as well. And so I think the problem with the Vita was that I think Sony became aware that it's really hard to support essentially two different console platforms and give each console, like the PS4 and the PS Vita, it's really hard to, like, you're going to spread yourself too thin is what I'm trying to say. And I feel like this is where I don't know what the way forward is at this point. To me, I think the most likely thing for Sony to do, and it may be a while from now, but I think the most likely thing for Sony is to possibly do a cloud-based handheld. You're saying PS5 games would have to run native on the new handheld, and that's the problem. Like, how could they? Like, I wouldn't want that. Like, we're at a point where we're already seeing games not take anywhere near full advantage of the PS5. Like, we're not even close to that point. And it's just because of circumstances, and we're looking forward to that. It would suck if Sony put out like a handheld that was like half the capability, half the capability of a PS5. And it's like, well, every game that we make has to be able to run on this thing. Like, that would hold games back, and that's why I would prefer like a streamable handheld. I know that, but I just don't know that would be very successful. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people would be like, oh, cloud-based. So I don't know. I mean, maybe Sony's just waiting to get to a point where their handheld can be so powerful, because we are getting close to this point, or closer, where their handheld can be so powerful that it's like, and things can become so easily scalable, where they can have like maybe a PlayStation 6 console, which is extremely powerful, can be, push games to their limits or whatever, do crazy things. And then they can have like a companion handheld that is close somehow, maybe, to the capability of a PlayStation 6, but not quite. But I don't know. If you think about it, if Sony were to do a handheld like that, it would essentially be their version of the Xbox Series S. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to speak for every PlayStation fan, but from what I can tell, PlayStation fans don't want something like that. Like they don't want a Series S or a lesser version. That's one thing that I think we've given Sony a lot of credit for with the PS5, is they just created one single piece of hardware that once the PS4 is out, and I think this is why so many of us are eager to see the PS4 pushed to the side. No offense to PS4 players, but we want to get to that point because we really want to see like just developers focus on this single console and what they can do, and maybe PC. I feel like PC is always going to have to be a part of the conversation. So yeah, at this point in time, I think it's too early, but I could see them kind of prototyping stuff, and I think the ideal thing for Sony to do would be to wait until they can create a handheld that can get close to, not match, but get close to, like as close as it possibly can get to matching their home console. But I don't know. See, the thing is, I don't have the technical knowledge to know how far or how close we are to that. So I just know that things are always improving. And, something like, if you think about it, something like a Steam Deck seemed crazy, like, probably even just like 5 or 6 years ago. And so here we are with the Steam Deck. It's impressing people, and they're going to continue to iterate on that. So we'll see. I think there's time, but I think Sony is probably working on something at the very least. Like they're looking into it and considering it. I mean, how could they not? Josh Z, you're saying, have you watched Stranger Things 4v1? Stranger Things 4 Volume 1, so fantastic. I don't know. I read things so weird sometimes. I don't know why. But to answer your question, Josh, yes, actually, I did watch Stranger Things, and I am eagerly anticipating Volume 2, and it's great, dude. I mean, it's awesome. Yeah, I don't know why I read it like Stranger Things 4 versus 1. What? Like, oh man, I don't know what's wrong with me. But I did watch it, dude, and I've always loved Stranger Things. I think it's a great show, and maybe you guys can answer this question for me. Is this the last season of Stranger Things? I feel like I kept hearing that this was the last season of Stranger Things, but then like now I'm hearing they're doing a season 5. So yeah, that's what I heard. Is there's gonna be a season 5? So you're saying season 5 is the last one? Okay, that I didn't know. All right. Yeah, we'll see about that. We'll see if season 5's the last one, considering the direction that Netflix is going in, which is down right now. I imagine that, considering how successful Stranger Things is, but that's the problem, is if this is a show that's being created for 5 seasons in mind, and they want to end it at season 5, then they should definitely just end it at season 5. Please don't artificially extend it. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far, Josh, and I can't wait to see the conclusion of this season, because there was definitely a twist there that didn't see coming. I don't think anybody really did. So spin-offs are planned. Okay, yeah, that would make the most sense. Spin-offs sound about right. Do you guys know who this? Did they give any information about the spin-off, like who it's going to be featuring or who's going to star in it? Let me see. We have Kyle H. You're saying, imagine YouTube can implement a feature like PlayStation that can stop spoilers. Sony uses it for games, and the videos underneath, they block them. Yeah, that would be cool if they could do something like that. No info yet? All right. Spinoff isn't what we expect, said the Duffers. Okay. Definitely be interested to see what they end up doing there. But yeah, I would love to see YouTube implement something like that, to implement some type of feature that would just, in the algorithm that can just detect it. It'll automatically, detect if something is considered a spoiler. All right. Pragmatic Hat, you're saying we need to be able to flag these videos. Yeah, for sure. It's because it's crazy. Because even for games, man, like I know we're talking about shows and movies, but it's just as bad for video games. And that really sucks because video games, man, they're more expensive, and their video games are, in my opinion, more of an investment. So just scroll like that's why if God of War, if people get early copies and stuff, you're gonna have to stay off the internet for a little bit. Just stay off social media. Yeah, for sure, man. That's the way to go. Definitely. JDTV, member for 14 months, Players No Limits. Thank you, buddy. You're saying, for someone that has never played a Final Fantasy game, I wonder if I start with Final Fantasy VII Remake, will I understand the lore, or do I have to play the other Final Fantasy games first? Well, JDTV, that's the position I'm in. I've never played a Final Fantasy game in my life. I just heard people talk about them. I've seen footage, but I have no idea what's going on or what I'm even looking at. And that's what I was nervous about with Final Fantasy VII Remake. And people have told me many, many times, everybody's told me, like, you do not need to play the other games to enjoy any Final Fantasy. Like, they're almost independent of one another. And that's actually why I'm so excited for Final Fantasy 16, because I didn't know that, and that's why I think that's actually a big reason, and maybe that's a huge misconception about Final Fantasy, where I was always just like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I'm not trying to go play a game where I got to know what happened in the last 14 or 15 games, So when I found out that you kind of don't, I mean, I'm sure there are some connections, obviously, and I can kind of already get that sense, but I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. Like, as I'm playing through Final Fantasy VII Remake, I don't feel like I have no idea what's going on. To a point where it's like, there's a difference between I can tell that they're building up to something to reveal to me, and they're trying to tell a story here, versus like, it's not like I'm 19 hours into this game and I'm like, I don't get anything that's happening. No, they make it very easily digestible, I think, and contained, and I like that. So it's not like they're referencing characters that they don't plan to explain or flesh out. They're not referencing, as far as I'm aware, they're not necessarily referencing things where it's like, well, you remember that thing that happened 3 games ago, and it's like, nothing like that. So Anthony Perez, you're saying, did you do the hand massage in Final Fantasy VII? I did. And, talking about this, I was kind of confused. Like, when they give you the option to pick which type of massage you want, first of all, I'm like, okay, I wasn't expecting to be making this decision right now. And they had, what were the 3 options they had? I know that they had like there's basically 3 tiers, right? There was like the bare minimum, cheapest one. There was the middle one. What I need the names that they offered, because it was based off of the names that I made my decision. Did I miss an important piece of story here? Something critical. Because I went with the middle one. I'm pretty sure the luxury was the last one. I chose rough. Was that an option? I got the middle one because I honestly felt like that's probably the one Cloud would choose, right? I missed some fan service. Oh, damn. I'll have to look. Well, I don't know if I do a second playthrough. That's funny. That's funny. I had a see. That's why I that's why I kind of I was a little bit like torn. What do I choose here? Because I feel like I'm gonna miss something. But yeah, I know there was a little bit of lag on the stream. You're saying it's not fan service; it's just funny. I'll have to check it out then, because I am curious. Either that, or I will replay it. But yeah, I chose the moderate option. Is the stream? Are there any? What's going on with the stream? Is it back yet? I mean, everything says it's good on my end, guys. Am I still here? Am I still live? Yeah, I don't know. It's something with my internet. It has these lag spikes, and I pay for good internet, so I have no idea what's causing that. All right, everybody's saying it's good now. Yeah, apologies for that. I can see when it's happening, and I guess it's really delayed. Yeah, because for me it just gives a spinning wheel, and I know like okay. Sometimes it'll do it for literally just like 3 seconds, and it like nobody even notices. Other times it just completely like shits the bed at like it just happened here. The middle one means you won't get Aerith's best dress. Oh damn! I didn't know that. Yeah, they don't really make it clear that some of these. I guess I probably should have inferred that some of those decisions I make probably have an impact on something relating to the story. But because I know she's getting a dress now, but this will be good stuff to know for like my second playthrough. All right, let me see. Young G, you're saying it's crazy that a lot of people aren't excited for a state of play for Ragnarok, and that's because we're exhausted of the rumors, but this time it's different. I'm honestly ready for release just so rumors stop. Well, Young G, yeah, I think that this is a good stepping off point to start talking about God of War. I'm going to read through the rest of these. I'm going to read through the rest of these super chats. You're saying somebody says that's not true. The massage has nothing to do with the dress. Okay. All right. I don't know what to believe. I'll see for myself. But I'm just gonna say the final thing here with Final Fantasy VII Remake, because obviously I don't have as much to say this week because I'm still playing, but I'm still really enjoying it, and I'm 19 hours in. I have no idea how much of the game I have left, but I'm not in any rush, so I'm taking my time. And I'm really enjoying it. And I fought a house boss battle, and it was really intense. And this game is awesome. And that's that. So, yeah, dude. So you're saying it's crazy that a lot of people aren't excited for a state of play for Ragnarok. And I think what you're saying is true, man. And I think that's a problem here. I think that's been a problem. Is the thing about Sony being quiet for certain periods of time regarding their games or regarding things that they have in the works is it does allow more opportunity for rumors and leaks, and they're going to happen, you know, and the longer that persists without Sony confirming or denying or doing anything, the more tired people get. Even me as a content creator, I do get tired sometimes, you know, like I just saw like with Final Fantasy 16, like, we just got a ton of new information about that game, like a ton. And I was just thinking, like, man, it would be really awesome to just get something like that for God of War now, you know, if possible. But that's going to happen. It just Sony seems to operate a lot differently. And I think the thing about Sony and God of War right now is they know what they have. And I think for them, it's just all about timing. I think it's about making sure that, hey, we can make the biggest possible splash when we show God of War again. And I think that's about to happen, because if you think about it, man, Sony doing a God of War state of play on Thursday, right? June 30th. I mean, June is one of the biggest months for gaming announcements and reveals. That is how you win June, in my opinion. I'm going to talk more about that in depth. Pragmatic Cat, you're saying, I'm also in Wall Market. I just fought 2 officials. Nice, dude. Yeah. I am wondering how much more of this section of the game I have left. I think I'm getting ready to move on soon. Rule, you're saying, I think the bottleneck for portable devices is the battery and heat. A powerful portable console would drain the battery, make the device burn. That's true, yeah. So there are limitations no matter what. And that's why I'm not sure that I really feel like I want Sony to do a handheld. I mean, I feel like I'm at a point where you have the PS5 and you have PSVR 2, and I think that might be enough for now. You know, I think that might be enough to focus on right now. Don't want to see Sony spread themselves too thin. Plus, I mean, look, they have all their studios working on multiple projects, single-player games, multiplayer games. They have a mobile division. And I think what Sony is actually trying to do, what do I want to, and I want to say this real quick because I think it's pretty important. I think what Sony's choosing to do is they're like, you know what, rather than make a dedicated handheld ourselves, maybe we should just try to make some of our games mobile. Like, you know, we see that happen now more than ever before, and it is successful for a lot of these video game publishers. So I just think Sony's probably looking at that and like, maybe we should try that. I don't know that I'm a fan of that because I'm not into mobile gaming, but is my stream still lagging, guys? Because I keep seeing it buffer, and I'm getting kind of annoyed because I don't know if that's just me seeing that or if that's affecting you guys as well. Not at the moment. All right. It seems like it's just on my end then. So, okay. Just wanted to make sure. By the way, guys, before we really dive into this God of War topic, please do me a favor and hit that like button for me. We're almost at 300 likes. I think we could easily get to 400. Would really appreciate that. That's really the only way you get YouTube's algorithm to notice my content, unfortunately. 18 May, thank you for the $20, my friend. You're saying, MBG help. My wife told me she is packing her bags and heading to California if I don't stop buying sealed copies of Loco Roco for the for the PSP. Question: if she takes Interstate 80, I-80, would she need Easy Pass for the tolls? Bro, first of all, I have no clue. All right, I don't know. I don't want to answer that because I don't know. But I mean, dude, I feel like the question you should be asking is why do you keep buying sealed copies of Loco Roco for the PSP to the point where your wife is leaving you, man? I mean, you got to get this together. I would recommend just giving the wife the boot. Did she say it's either her or the sealed copies of Loco Roco, and you're like, peace. My recommendation is to just cool it, man. It's not worth ruining your marriage over. It's not worth ending your marriage. So I would say just be happy with the copies you currently have, you know, and try to keep your wife, man, because I feel like you're asking the wrong questions here. Man, I don't know. It sounds like you already made your choice, man. I mean, if you go by my chat, they're like, get rid of her, tell her to kick rocks, just keep buying more. Well, hey, man, that's your choice to make, but I cannot, yeah, in the words of Cloud, get help. But yeah, dude, I appreciate that. That's a, you know, it's weird because like I have no idea if there's any serious, like if I was about to say like, oh, that's really funny, thanks for lightening up the mood a little bit, but this could be a real thing. Like you could really be genuinely speaking the truth right now. This is your reality, and I'm just laughing at you and taking it as a joke. So if this is really what you're going through, man, I apologize, but surely you can understand this is a little strange. Oh my god. Space Gambler Jr. says type 1 in the chat for her to stay, type 2 for her to kick rocks. All right, chat. You heard Space Gambler Jr. Planet Schlorpian. Oh man. No, I feel like the chat is trolling at this point. They're all typing into. Have I seen Kenobi? Yeah, I did just talk about that. Damn, you guys are savage. Nothing gets in the way. Nothing gets in between a man and his sealed copies. His obsession for sealed copies of Loco Roco. It seems. That's awesome. All right. Well, the chat has spoken. 18 May. So take that for what it is, my friend. Planet Schlorpian, you're saying linear Final Fantasy 16 kind of bums me out a bit. Really? See, that's what's interesting is like how good was the open world in Final Fantasy 15? Because I feel the opposite. I don't feel bummed at all. I actually feel happy. I'm actually happy that it's linear. I'm so tired of open world games. I feel like the conversation between linear games and open world games is tough because if you say that you prefer linear games, people I think automatically assume that you hate open world. And I don't hate open world games. I don't hate them. There's actually some of my favorite games are open world, and there are games that in my opinion should be open world and they benefit from it. But that's like one of the things. Am I the only one that's like one of the biggest reasons I'm excited for God of War is because it's not an open world game. You know, like I love the fact that God of War, I'm not saying they won't ever go open world. They might, but right now, I just feel like I'm really glad to play a AAA PlayStation exclusive that is, I guess it's more wide linear. I guess wide linear is the best way to describe it. It's not like so linear where it's like you're walking down a corridor. You know, there are like explorable areas. And I think maybe wide linear is my favorite type of game because I don't always want a game to feel like I'm just constantly on a track. You know, I'm just on a train track and I'm being pulled in a very specific direction where there's no room to explore at all. I like wide linear where there is a bit of exploration. And I think a game like God of War that, you know, it's perfect for something like that. But I don't know. I'm playing Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and that's one of the things I absolutely love about it, dude. Like, it's just so damn nice to play a AAA game like this where the most open areas are just some of these sectors where there's just a bit of exploration. It's not anywhere near like an open world, and there is a specific path to follow. I like that, man. I really do. And that's one of the things I do like with the way they're handling the side quests is they're not like overwhelming, and they're just kind of, you know, they're placed appropriately in the story where it's like do some story stuff, take a little breather, do some side quests, do more story stuff. You're in a new area, do a couple side quests, and it's kind of linear in that way. I really like that. I like that a lot more than just having an entire open world where it's like. But then there are some games where it's like Ghost of Tsushima, where I feel like it would have been disheartening if Ghost of Tsushima wasn't open world. I mean, it could stand to have some improvements made, of course, just like every open world game. But one of my favorite aspects of Ghost of Tsushima was literally being on my horse and not galloping, not, you know, just taking my time, just trotting along, exploring the open world and just taking in all the scenery and just seeing what I could discover and taking it slow. Like I actually played the game that way because I felt like I really like what they're doing here. And it just from an exploration standpoint, I think it makes sense, you know, with an art style like this. And they obviously had certain areas of Ghost of Tsushima where there was environmental storytelling. I think they did a great job. And I loved it. And that's why I think like I really want to see what improvements they make specifically to a game like Ghost of Tsushima. You know, with the open world. Also, is it going to be in Tsushima? I don't know. Is it going to be in a different area? We'll talk about that a little bit later, but But I like a good balance. I like a good balance. You know, I like having some open world games and I like having linear games. I just think the worst thing ever is when a game feels like it has to be open world. Like, did you guys I remember in The Last of Us Part 2, I forget which chapter it was. It was like earlier in the game when you're playing as Ellie. But there's this like section of the game where it almost becomes like open world. I mean, it's like a massive area to explore. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that. I don't know why. I think the reason why, if I had to really think about it, yeah, downtown Seattle, I think the reason why I didn't like that part of the game was because it felt kind of like I was literally confused because it came off to me like I almost thought, I was like, did they try to make this open world and it like didn't work, but they're like, we'll just make this one part really open. Maybe I'd have to replay it. I don't know. Maybe I was just so invested in continuing the story and getting through that I couldn't appreciate it. Or maybe I was just so confused because I was like, wait, everything was so linear. Now everything's open. And I just was caught off guard. But I just remember thinking to myself, like, man, I'm not enjoying this. I don't know. I'll probably have to replay it. But I thought that was kind of weird, you know? MBG's crippling video agoraphobia is a somber moment for us to all reflect on. Yeah. All right, let me see. Zanarcan Blitzer, you're saying, MBG, did you complete all the quests in Sector 5? Did my tips from last week come in handy for you? Actually, they did. Yeah, I did follow some of the tips. They did help for sure. And I'm really glad I listened to you guys when you were telling me like to try other weapons, because I didn't realize that I wasn't unlocking new abilities. Like, I didn't know that you had, if you used other weapons, it would unlock their special ability to use with your preferred weapon. I had no idea. So I'm glad I listened to that, because I would have went the whole game not knowing that. And there are some sick abilities for sure. Also, I love that there's just a nail bat. You know, you have like all these like badass, awesome, great swords, and then there's just a nail bat, and it just seems so useless. And I'm like, really? A nail bat? And it's just kind of funny seeing Cloud with that on his back. But yeah, I think I did do all the side quests in Sector 5. I make sure that any area where there are side quests, I complete them all before I move on. So, Himanshu Yadav, you're saying, have you played Hades? My God, that game is awesome. I haven't, no. I've heard really, really good things about it, though. So maybe one day that's a game I'm going to have to check out. I heard it's really good. Anthony Perez, you're saying, I think more story-driven games should be more linear and more gameplay-driven experiences should be open world. Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, I'm always a believer in like whatever the vision is for the game, let it be what it's envisioned to be. Did you guys see, you know what? I don't know why you just made me think of this. Did you guys see that new game? If I'm not mistaken, it's a Sega published game. It's called like Hyenas or something like that. Did you guys see that? Because I'm just mentioning this because, man, I was like, I just see some of the things that developers do. And, you know, you think about Sony pursuing multiplayer games, and I just feel like, man, I hope Sony doesn't go in that direction, you know, like I'm kind of glad, and this is no ill will towards the developers of the game, but this is why I'm kind of glad that a game like Destruction All-Stars flopped. And I don't know if you guys have saw, but on the official PlayStation YouTube channel, they're like spamming videos, or they were like spamming videos for Destruction All-Stars. And I understand it's now part of PlayStation Plus Extra, I think. So they're kind of trying to, you know, give it a boost. But I don't know, man. I cringe a lot of times at these attempts where you can just tell that developers are chasing a trend. And I mean, Destruction All Stars, it's not that bad, but I'm just so tired of the precedent that Fortnite has set. And this is why I'm excited for like Naughty Dog's Last of Us multiplayer game, because to me, that feel like that could be the opposite. Like I do feel that there needs to be a multiplayer game where if you think about The Last of Us and how brutal that world is, where it's like, oh, this isn't Fortnite. It's using the Fortnite model, which the live service model, which it's not exclusive to Fortnite. It's been there for a while. But I'd rather see Sony, and I'm glad they're doing something like that. Like, I don't know if you guys caught on to this, and I know I'm going a little bit off track here. I'll get back on track, but I just want to say this while it's at the forefront of my mind. I don't know if you guys saw, but there was, an update to the Last of Us multiplayer game. And one of the things that Naughty Dog said that I'm going to be keeping an eye out on, I'm going to be paying very close attention to this because this could make or break the overall experience, is they said that they are making it accessible for everybody and making it like easy for people to jump in. And like that can be a good thing. It really depends on what that means. Because if that means changing the core gameplay, no, that would be bad. That is literally the opposite of what you should do. If that means toning down the gore and the realism in favor of something that's more appealing to the younger audience, no. These are the things that I really, really hope that when they say they're making it like more accessible or easy for people to dive into, my hope is that what they mean is they're just going to make it so you don't necessarily have to play like The Last of Us 1 or 2 to understand and kind of get a feeling of what this world is and what's going on. That's what I hope. Oh, you're saying my stream is stream glitched? Let me know when I'm back. I think I should be back now. I hope I'm back. Man, this is going to be annoying if this is going to do this every 20 minutes. Oh yeah, and that's another thing I want to say too is I also hope that what they mean, you're saying they mean adding the accessibility features that they've been adding to all of their newer games. Yeah, I hope that's what they mean. I hope that they also are referring to maybe it will be free to play, maybe it'll be on PC. Like that's fine. That's why I'm going to be paying close attention, because I'll tell you what I'm anticipating from this Last of Us multiplayer game is the intensity and the brutality and that kind of dire sense of the world and survivors in a multiplayer environment. No dance emotes. Yeah, that's the thing, dude. Like you gotta, and that's where I kind of feel like what I just said, they're gonna have dance emotes. And it's like, I can't take this world seriously if I'm seeing people basically breakdancing around clickers. It's like at that point, what's happening? I mean, that won't necessarily break the game. I would give them some leeway. You know what I mean? Like do some silly stuff, have some fun. I'm not saying it has to be so rigid. Corny outfits. Yeah, I mean, that's something else that would be kind of strange, right? Like somebody dressed up as like a rainbow unicorn out there, smashing clicker faces in, or, decapitating clickers. It's like, it's actually almost something I think I'd want to see because it sounds really interesting. But they're going to have to sell some stuff. Dude, it's like when I used to be a PUBG player, and I saw recently that PUBG, I shit you not, they partnered with Hot Pockets. And they had a Hot Pocket outfit. And I'm like, dude, what? Like, what? I'm sorry, a Hot Pocket outfit? Okay. That's, I guess they got to make their money with these sponsorship deals. But I do look at that kind of stuff, and I'm like, am I looking at the future of this Last of Us multiplayer game? They're gonna partner with Hot Pocket. Oh man. Anyway, I didn't mean to go on that side tangent, but I actually just ate some Hot Pockets. I gotta admit, I do like Hot Pockets. So their marketing is working on me. Their marketing is working. Ever since I saw that PUBG Hot Pocket outfit, I was like, I gotta buy some Hot Pockets. Probably terrible for you though. Anyway, oh, you know what? It's funny too because I saw that Halo Infinite partnered with Hot Pockets as well, and there was like Halo Infinite marketing on the packaging, and I was like, I could probably do something really funny with this, but I was like, nah, I'll leave it alone. Yeah, what's going on with Halo Infinite, man? I still see some people talking about it, about how like it. I don't want to say it's dead. Like, I'm not saying that because I don't know, but I've seen people like pointing out that it's like nosediving. Like, it's just not. It's not a successful live service game. I don't know if there's truth to that, but I don't know, man. It's kind of sad. You know, it's kind of sad to see that you could tell that it was supposed to be bigger than it ended up being. But have I seen that there are more players playing Halo Master Chief Collection than Halo Infinite? And they're trying to add microtransactions to Master Chief Collection. Damn, that's crazy. I did see an article floating around about that. How is it? See, I'm not like in the loop with Halo, the Halo community. How does the Halo community feel about that? Like, do they care that they're thinking about adding microtransactions? I mean, I feel like it's easy to be like, oh my God, that's horrible. They shouldn't do that. But I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't be a bad thing if they're going to add like outfits and stuff. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know what the future of Halo is, but I'm not so sure that it's infinite. I really don't. I mean, it's crazy. All right. Getting a little bit off topic here. Halo Infinite already has MTX. Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, X Cathedral, you're saying Final Fantasy 15's second half was better because it was more linear. The open world was fine, but the quest design was lacking and didn't have much to do with the main story. It was my first Final Fantasy game and I loved it. Interesting, yeah. I mean, I feel like that was probably the assumption where it's like, well, Final Fantasy 15 is open world, so 16 is going to be open world, and I think some people were surprised. I also want to make it clear that I don't know that Final Fantasy 16 is going to be like super linear either. I think Final Fantasy 16 is going to be a wide linear game because the way that they were describing like globe trotting and going to different areas, it sounds like you're going to be put into like open areas. It's just not one unified open world. That's kind of the vibe I got based off of what they were talking about. Yeah, like really large regions to explore, which could be good. Yeah, and that, like, to me, again, that's where it's like if they can strike a good balance where it's not too open, if it's not more open than it needs to be, you know? Because I will admit the in Final Fantasy VII Remake, some of the areas, like the sectors, they are a little bit too tight, you know? Like, I notice, and I know it's probably supposed to be that way. It's supposed to give the idea of like these are slums and everything's packed together. But my God, I'm running around through Wall Market and I'm getting literally annoyed because I'm like, everything is so tightly packed. I feel like I'm running through a maze. So that got me a little little frustrated, but it's like, you know, that's nitpicking in my opinion. Also, especially because you don't have to spend any extra time there if you don't want to. Black Waifus, you're saying, what's the consensus on Bluepoint making a Demon's Souls 2 on their own? No Miyazaki. Been playing the remake, and I'm personally down for it. Chat. So, like, asking the chat what your opinion is. Well, I'm going to be honest, man. I don't think a Demon's Souls 2 is happening. I don't. It would be very, very interesting if it did, but I don't I don't see that happening. I just don't know that Demon Souls has the type of appeal. Yeah, somebody says Dark Souls is Demon Souls 2. Yeah, it pretty much is in a way, you know, like Demon Souls was the start of Dark Souls, which became Bloodborne, which became Elden Ring. I have no idea what Blue Point's working on. Apparently they are working on something original, but they're also working on a remake as well. Like, I think that rumor came from Millier, if I'm not mistaken, a while ago, where, you know, depending on how reliable you think she is, she said that they were working on 2 projects. One is like I think an original game that is, I think she said like the size roughly of like, or the scope, I should say, of like Spider-Man Miles Morales. And then they're also working on a remake. And I think it was like Colin Moriarty who said he heard it was a Bloodborne remake and then a Bloodborne sequel, but then he said that he later heard that's not true, and so he has no idea what Blue Point's working on. So with all of this in mind, I feel like no one really knows what Blue Point is actually doing, and I do wonder if like this is one of the teams that maybe we're going to hear from this year. Maybe not. I don't know, but I don't think a Demon Souls 2 is going to happen, unfortunately. I think Demon Souls Remake is just going to kind of be the last we see of it for a very, very long time. Is it true that Abandon has been updated? I couldn't tell you, my friend. Green Goblin, I couldn't tell you. I have not... I have not looked into it. Nick, you're saying, I just took you up on your word about Death Stranding. I started playing it, and the intro is fire. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it, man. I'm glad you gave it a chance. Yeah, it's an awesome game, dude. And let me see. We have True Witty. You're saying 343 is racist. Their creative director was banned for it. Jeez, is that true? I don't know if there's truth to that. I haven't been following them, but that's crazy if that's true. All right, guys, hit that like button. I'm going to dive into God of War, a lot deeper into God of War at this point, because I think it's happening. I think it's happening. And I feel the frustration that everybody has been feeling, where the rumors, right? The rumors. And I want to make a few things clear here. I want to just state how I feel about the development of God of War before I talk more about this, because I want to make it known that my feeling on game development is I don't think there's any rush. I don't think there's any need to rush anything. We'll be okay, you know, like everyone will be okay if a game needs more time. And I do feel a little bit bad, just a little bit at times, when it's like, I don't want the development teams to feel like pressured that, you know, oh, we haven't heard from it, or, you know, or anything. You know, I just don't want them to feel like that they have to rush anything. But I don't think that's what's going on here. I just feel the need to kind of preface what I'm about to say with that, because I think some people, you know, we have a tendency to get excited and get a little bit, I think, impatient. But obviously, I think we all want a finished product, right? Like, we all want a game to come out when it's ready. But with that being said, yes, the snitch. This is an insider who, you know, people are really trying to figure out who this guy is and how he's getting access to this information. What's weird about, it's not weird, but I think what really is catching people by surprise is that the snitch, or Insider WTF on Twitter, they're not just leaking things about one platform. They're leaking things about PlayStation. They're leaking things about Xbox. And they're getting, like, here's the thing that makes them so interesting. They're right. They're right every time. They have not missed. They have not been wrong. So this has led people to think that this is maybe like somebody at YouTube or somebody who can see the back end of YouTube and see unlisted videos and stuff like that, because these things have to be uploaded to YouTube before, and they can just kind of see this. And that makes sense. Yeah, you're saying somebody said they work at YouTube and possibly see locked or hidden videos that get uploaded earlier. Now that makes the most sense. However, there is one thing here that we have to ask ourselves, because this is the thing that sticks out to me. If this was true, right? If this insider like worked at YouTube or something like that, how did he know about Overdose? And that's the thing that's weird to me, because as far as I'm aware, there were no videos that were ever released titled Overdose. Here's something to consider. The snitch may have seen on the back end, and this is just a theory of mine, the way he knew about Overdose was he saw that there was a video uploaded on Xbox's channel on the back end that was the Xbox Kojima game announcement. Now maybe, because the thing is, when you put out a video or you upload a video to YouTube, like most people probably don't know this, when you upload a video to YouTube, it'll just have like a title there that whatever you labeled your video file, it'll just give it that title. So whoever uploaded the unlisted or private video of the Kojima Xbox announcement, they may have like actually put the title like just like Overdose or something, or Xbox Overdose, Kojima Overdose, just as like the placeholder title for the video, and then and whoever runs the Xbox YouTube account typed in the actual title and so forth. And that's what I'm saying, like that's the one thing I can't figure out, because I do think that, yeah, this person being well, see, Hanzo, you're saying that he saw the trailer though. Well, the snitch, as far as we know, didn't see anything. That was actually Tom Henderson. Tom Henderson was the one who was sent the footage, supposedly. And then Kojima asked it to be taken down. And I just think it's worth noting that as of right now, Overdose is something that the snitch apparently leaked. And as of right now, it has not yet been confirmed. So that's like the only thing on his record that we're going to have to wait to see if it does get confirmed. And I think a lot of people looked at the Xbox Kojima announcement as confirmation, but we don't know. So that's why I'm just saying I'm not entirely convinced that this is a YouTube employee that can see the back end, because that's the one kind of thing that's sticking out where it's like, well, you know, they did call Overdose, and so I don't know. There's some weird, but the point is, because I'm getting a little bit off track here, the snitch, he put out a tweet, and he seems to be more cryptic with each leak that he brings out. And I think he's doing this to try to protect himself, because, oh man, whoever's leaking this type of stuff, I mean, there are people who want to find out who this person is, and they want to get them off of the internet immediately. So I think that the more that they leak things, the more cryptic they're going to be. And it wouldn't surprise me if at some point they just end up having to go away for their own sake. You know, you can only leak stuff like this for so long until you get. You're saying Kojima Productions sent an email to Tom asking him to take the article down. That basically confirms Overdose. I mean, it does to a degree, yeah, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's true. True Whittier saying he was banned on Restoration for racism and sexism. Jeez. Well, that's pretty terrible, man. That's pretty terrible. So, yeah, he put out a GIF of God of War, or Kratos. It's the one of Kratos chopping the wood, or I think it looked like he was chopping it. He was doing something, but he's smiling, you know, nodding and smiling. And he put it was like a binary. It was like 1 1 1 1 0, and people were trying to figure out like what do these numbers mean? What do the numbers mean, Mason? What do they mean? And some people were thinking it was a release date like November 11th, 11/11, but that's not what it was. It was actually for it's binary for the number 30. So he seems to be the general consensus is the message he's trying to convey, not so directly, but letting people figure it out, is we are getting something God of War related on June 30th. Now, it's worth noting he put out a second tweet where underneath that, it was of somebody, it was a GIF of somebody, I guess, like a judge or somebody like going order, like yelling order, in the court or whatever, I guess. And people are now thinking, okay, like this seems to be his subtle way of confirming like we're going to get a release date and pre-orders are opening. Now, I believe that you know what, let me check something real quick before I state this, because now I'm curious. So I did see some people saying like maybe what he's saying about God of War is a little bit maybe it's not something that's going to happen soon. Like maybe it's not something that's happening next week. Maybe it's happening in July 30th or something like that, or August 30th, whatever it may be. But the thing about that is, and this is why I want people to pay attention to the way the snitch operates. The snitch does not give stuff out in advance. You know what I mean? Like anything the snitch puts out is something that's coming imminently, like very soon. So if this person is actually a real insider who's like talking to people, at some point they'll reveal something that's further out. And we haven't seen that yet. Again, Overdose is kind of the only thing that's kind of up in the air. But I do think that what this means is we're going to get a God of War State of Play on Thursday. And that's why I made that video on Friday, because I did not want to make another video talking about another God of War rumor. But this one was so just, it's going to happen. So like something, it may not be a State of Play, which I think would be weird if it wasn't, but something regarding God of War is happening on Thursday. I want to make it clear that it might not be a State of Play. I think that would suck because it just doesn't fall in line with, with the way Sony operates. Like Sony does dedicated State of Plays for all of their big games. What they could do if they really wanted is they could put out a trailer, like a release date trailer, a blog post announcing the release date, and they're also going to put out the special editions and whatnot. And you're saying, imagine they just announce and announce a release date in a tweet. I mean, dude, they could do that. That would suck so bad. It would be something, but man, that would really suck. I would be pretty surprised if it wasn't a State of Play. It might not be though, Well, let me ask you guys this. I don't know why I'm not remembering clearly, but when did Sony drop the pre-orders for the special editions of Horizon? Did they do that during the State of Play or after, or did I can't remember? Because I feel like, well, then again, I don't even know if we can go based off of that. Can't recall. 1 week later, it's late 2021. Dude, so I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm gonna be kind of disappointed if we don't get. Look, I want a State of Play. Just speaking for me and my selfish wants and desires, I want a State of Play for God of War this Thursday, and I'm going to be a little bit upset if we don't get it, but I would also settle for a new trailer. And it would be weird to me if they didn't do a state of play, because if they don't do a state of play, then at that point, I'm going to be pretty convinced that God of War is a 2023 game. You know, I think by the time, I mean, they could do a release date trailer this Thursday and then do a state of play in like July, but that seems a bit redundant. Although it would be, I will admit, it would be pretty smart to kind of extend the conversation if that's what Sony wants to do. Because that's the thing I also want to make clear is, I know we're Sewell's going to be very upset. Am I saying your name correctly, by the way? I apologize if I'm butchering it, but you're saying, and like a restless lover, I'm back for more. Let us begin the Final Fantasy talk. Oh, who's going to break it to him? Who's going to break it? Somebody's going to have to break it. I don't know if I have the heart. We already talked about Final Fantasy, man. We already had the conversation. I didn't want to make everybody wait this time, so I apologize. But it's okay. It's okay. You come back when the stream's over, the first hour of the podcast. You'll be able to hear everything I had to say about Final Fantasy. Right now we're talking about God of War though, and here's what I think's going to happen. Okay? And this is definitely wishful thinking. This is wishful thinking. I think Sony's about to bring the hammer down, man. Or the axe. Or the Blades of Chaos. I don't know. I feel like what's going to happen is on Monday or Tuesday. I think it's going to be Tuesday. I think maybe Monday. I don't know, but Monday or Tuesday, Sony's going to come out and they're going to be like, join us for a new state of play focused on God of War, and people are going to lose their shit. Because dude, I mean, come on, man. Like, what do you think we're going to see during a God of War state of play? I mean, you're going to see 15 to 20 minutes of just. You're saying you think I'm going to be sorely disappointed? I mean, I might be, man. Like that's the thing. The Caped Crusader, you're saying MBG, you're going to be disappointed on Thursday if nothing happens because you hype up rumors way too much. Let's all just be patient. Well, I don't want people to confuse my need and desire to have something to talk about on the channel and something new to offer on the channel with disappointment if it doesn't happen. I mean, look, let's just look at the facts here for a moment, okay? I think it'll be oh, okay. Dude, that's funny. Due recompense, yeah. Dude, what was up with those guys? I was like, what is up with these dudes talking about recompense? That was funny. Good one. I appreciate that. Well, here's the thing. We need to look at the facts here, okay? Because I understand, like, I do understand that people don't want to get overly hyped and they don't want to let themselves get ahead of themselves and get too far out there in the hype zone just to be obliterated. But here are the facts. We have been waiting for an update for God of War for a long time. We are due an update for God of War. Even Corey Barlog on Twitter, fact, he's been teasing it. He's been teasing God of War on Twitter. All right. Now, I'm not saying that means we can look at that as confirmation. He could just be doing it to torture the fan base. He could just be getting some kind of pleasure out of seeing people squirm. But, I think when we look at that fact, and then another fact we have to look at is the snitch he's letting us know that we are getting something related to God of War this week. That is a fact. He is not wrong. He has not been wrong about anything thus far. So it's okay. It is okay to assume that he's not going to be wrong now. The only thing that's not a fact here is what exactly we're going to get. If I had to guess, I really think that the wider PlayStation fan base and the wider God of War fan base is expecting a state of play. I think that at this point, it would be, I think, unacceptable. I don't know that it would be unacceptable, but some people would be very frustrated for sure if Sony just like put out a blog post and was like, here's the release date, you know, here's the release date of God of War, and here are the new editions that you can pre-order. Like, I think people would be happy to get a release date, and I think people would be happy for the editions, but I just don't know that. If you think about how long it's been since we've seen God of War, it's been since September of last year. And if the game is coming this year, they're going to have to start marketing it. You know, they're running, like, their marketing window is running out, and part of that marketing is showing footage. And I just feel like you look at what Sony's done for all of their big games. I mean, Sony had a state of play for Horizon in like May of 2021, and the game didn't come out till 2022. And that was kind of weird because we thought, man, that was like a long time. But I think people forget that Horizon was meant to come out in 2021. When they showed that state of play, they didn't anticipate it was going to get delayed. I think God of War is taking a different approach now. Like, I think the reason why they've been holding on to that state of play and showing us that big chunk of gameplay, this is just speculation on my part, but I think the reason why is because they wanted to avoid that situation. They didn't want to show like not a chapter, but like a chunk of God of War Ragnarok gameplay. Maybe they'll even show a portion of the boss battle with Thor, which would be sick. Just something to really generate the hype, and then just find out that actually we have to delay it by like 3 or 4 months. You know, I think that they just want to show the game again when it's pretty much done. Like literally, like, it's just coming out in a couple months. It's done, you know, and we're just polishing up some stuff and making it look nicer and tweaking a few minor things here and there. If you listen to what Corey had to say the last time he talked about, last time he gave us an update, which I think was in May, early May, if I'm not mistaken. Was it April or May? I feel like it was May. But it was like, a month, almost 2 months ago at this point, I think. He gave us an update on God of War, and he's just like, look, we're perfectionists. It's not that we're purposely holding anything back. When we're ready to show it, we'll show April 20. Okay, it was longer than I thought. Yeah, okay, yeah, the anniversary, right? That's when he did it. So, yeah, it's been a little over 2 months, and that's just kind of the feeling I get. I don't want to say anything too confidently because, as we know, anytime I get confident about something, the opposite ends up happening for some reason. But I really do hope that we get a proper state of play. Now, I did say earlier in the stream that there's a little something here. There's a little something here that makes me think, what if Sony's about to have a showcase? Now, I know that's a stretch, and I'm not saying that's what I'm expecting. Okay? I want to make it clear that I'm not expecting it, and I'm not telling anybody to expect it, but there was something that just popped up that I thought was interesting timing. And I'm going to tell you what that is just a second. I want to read this super chat. Brain Cells on Fire. You're saying, did you see the Game Awards put out a tweet asking what everyone's favorite game for 2022 was? Horizon Forbidden West had the most likes and was mentioned the most. So much for being overshadowed. That's interesting. I didn't see that. Yeah, dude, I think more people who maybe passed on Horizon ended up actually picking it up recently and giving it a try. And I think it's like winning people over, So I'm happy to see that, man. Horizon was a great game. But I came across something here. I have the article right here. So check this out. You know what? I got to close some of these guys. I think this is what's causing my computer to lag out a little bit. I got to close some of these. Hold on. I just realized I have like so many tabs open, and I think that's causing some slowdown here. All right. Hopefully that helps. Make sure I'm not lagging out. Okay. So Hogwarts Legacy pre-order and special edition bonuses have been leaked out, apparently. So among the pre-order and special edition bonuses for Hogwarts Legacy, there will be a 72 hours early access to the game, according to a recent discovery. As discovered by Reddit user Opalment, the Hogwarts Legacy official website's code includes references to early DLC packs and pre-order bonuses that have yet to be officially announced. Now, the reason why I find this fascinating and the timing of this is because Hogwarts Legacy is a game that is marketed by Sony. In fact, it almost seems like Warner Brothers has left it entirely in Sony's hands to market this game, or not necessarily entirely in their hands, but they want it to be marketed alongside PlayStation. And I'm just thinking to myself, Hogwarts Legacy DLC and pre-orders, I mean, we have that. We have God of War. We have PSVR 2, among other things. Is Sony, is there a chance that Sony is about to basically on Monday or Tuesday be like, yeah, we're having a showcase? I don't know. I'm not anticipating that. I just think that it's interesting timing that, oh, yeah, Hogwarts Legacy, apparently they have some new things to announce as well. And granted, it's not like they're showing anything huge, but Hogwarts Legacy, believe it or not, is actually in like the same position that God of War's in right now. It's actually in like the same exact position where we know it exists. We've seen, well, to be fair, we've seen much more gameplay of Hogwarts Legacy, but I don't know. I'm not expecting a showcase. I know that's a massive stretch, but I just think it's interesting that it's like, we're waiting to get a release date on God of War. We're waiting to get a release date on Hogwarts Legacy and the pre-order bonuses and everything. So I don't know. I mean, I just wonder what Sony is planning on doing outside of like a God of War state of play, I guess. If they have any other plans for maybe like any third-party state of plays. Some people, I did see some people speculating that the reason why Sony had a June 2nd state of play for third-party was because they wanted to just make room for a showcase at the end of this month that would just focus on first-party. Yeah, I do think so, but here's the one reason why I don't think Sony's having a showcase. Not until September. It's because God of War is such a massive, it's just such a massive game that commands so much attention, and it's probably coming out this year. I don't think it would be wise of Sony. In fact, I don't think Sony even needs to put anything else alongside of it. I think Sony just wants to allow their big tentpole games like God of War, and they've proven this before, to just have their own time in the sun, man. And let's face it, Sony knows how to make it happen, man. Because I'll tell you this, here's a fact that is kind of mind-blowing. This is a fact. Look it up. The June 2nd state of play that Sony held this month has more views than any of their past E3 shows, even E3 2016. It's garnered more viewership. Think about that. That's mind-blowing, man. It goes to show the type of power, honestly, the type of sway, the type of attention that Sony commands at this point in time. And I know that we talk a lot about how like, oh, they're not like they used to be with their announcements and they're too quiet, but let's think about this for a moment. Real quick, let's think about this. If Sony does a state of play on June 30th for God of War, if that's in fact what they're doing, a 15 to 20 minute state of play, that means in June, Sony had a state of play for third-party games for where they revealed Resident Evil 4 Remake, they revealed some PSVR 2 titles, they revealed Horizon Call of the Mountain, and they gave us a new trailer. They showed more Stray, they showed Roller Dome, but they also showed us a new trailer for Final Fantasy 16 and gave us an update on that. So that's the first thing they did in June. Second thing, surprise announcement of The Last of Us Remake or The Last of Us Part 1. Now, I know that for some people that may not be a big deal, but it's a game announcement and it's like, hey, it's coming out in just a couple of months. Surprise, surprise, you know? And then after that, we get the announcement of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, aka Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. If Sony ends this month with a God of War Ragnarok state of play, I don't care what anybody says, they just dominated June. Like, absolutely. And I know that, like, people are like, oh, it doesn't have to be a competition. And I'm not saying it has to be a competition, but I will say that Sony is proving at this point why they don't need, and maybe no publisher, frankly, needs to do like an hour and a half, almost 2 hour show, because it really is, it does kind of suck to do it that way if you think about it. Like, yeah, it's a big hoorah, but then it's over and people move on. And if you think about the way Sony's been doing these announcements, they're constantly keeping people engaged. And some things are much bigger than others, of course, but I'm just saying, man, if Sony drops a God of War state of play at the end of this month, as far as I'm concerned, they absolutely won June, man. You know, June every year is a big month for game announcements where every gaming publisher is fighting for your attention. And I just think it speaks volumes that Sony did a state of play and they crushed their own viewership with how did this state of play get more viewership than 2016's PlayStation E3? That was like the E3 of dreams. That's crazy to me, dude. And it just makes me wonder, like, if Sony is able to do this now when things are a little bit more tame, a little bit more quiet, this generation has gotten off to a slower start to a degree, right? What the hell is it going to be like in the next year or two? Shit's going to get crazy, I think. I mean, like, imagine when Sony's ready to really, really drop the bombs, you know? I don't know, man. I think Ragnarok is a pretty massive deal, though. Like, I am... One of the reasons I'm also very interested in a God of War Ragnarok state of play is just out of sheer curiosity. I want to see what type of viewership that gets. Because I think, I'm just going to say it, I think a God of War Ragnarok state of play is going to get more total viewership than, well, obviously anything Sony has done this year, but I even think the Xbox Showcase, I think it's going to overshadow that. I think a God of War state of play is pretty much an event in and of itself. I'm just going to say it. And I feel like Sony knows that. I feel like everybody knows that. I feel like even Xbox knows that, and that's why I think Sony's like, we can save our showcase for later this year. We'll let Kratos handle this one. You know, I feel like that's kind of what they're doing. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I do want to reiterate that it might not be a state of play. It could be something. It could be something less than that. And I don't want to. You know, I always do this thing. I know. I'm talking as if it is going to be a state of play, and I know this. I don't know if it's a state of play. I hope it is. Clearly, I hope it is. I think it would be a missed opportunity if it wasn't. But at the very least, we will be getting an update on God of War. And I'm just glad about that because my God, man, it's been a long time. It's been a long time, and there's no rush per se. It's just that is a game in particular that Sony has been pretty quiet with. So we do feel like we're due an update of some kind. Okay, let me see here. We have Pragmatic Cat. You're saying, have you seen the original Silent Hill Unreal Engine 5 fan remake? Blue Box should get involved if they're not. What with their boundless resources for Sony. Yeah, dude. So I have seen some articles written up about that. Unfortunately, I haven't seen the footage yet, which is crazy. I don't know how I haven't seen it yet, but I think I had like, I kept seeing the thumbnail and I'm like, oh, I'm going to watch them. Because when I sat down and I saw it, I wasn't in the frame of mind to watch something like that, but I'm going to have to check it out. I am, because I've seen a couple articles written up about it, and that's kind of like something we need to see. We need to get like an Unreal Engine 5 Silent Hill or something along those lines. Seeing if I can just pull it up here real quick because I want to check it out actually while it's on my mind. I don't know why I didn't see it yet. It's actually probably something I normally would make a video on. Silent Hill Unreal Engine 5. Let me see. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's pretty... That looks good. That looks really good. That is, yeah, that's... you know what? That is pretty horrifying, actually. We need that, dude. We need that. We need to make that a reality. I wonder if they're gonna try to release that or something. But yeah, I don't know if Blue Box is gonna get involved or Sony or anything like that. I don't know, dude. I'm still so curious. Like, what is Silent Hill a thing? Is Sony somehow involved with Silent Hill? I mean, all the rumors just went away. I think that ever since Kojima announced his game for Xbox, everybody just kind of, moved on, and the hype. I hate to say it, but I feel like the Xbox Kojima announcement killed the hype. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really even see people talking about the Xbox Kojima announcement because there's nothing to go off of, and I don't blame people. Like, what are you gonna say? But man, like, there's no more talking about Kojima and Silent Hill or Konami, and it's like, well, it kind of killed it, and even I'm not talking about it until just this moment because, there's no movement, there's nothing going on. So, Sewell, you're saying, did someone say Final Fantasy? Wait. Yeah. You're saying it was a dumb announcement, to be honest. I mean, it kind of was, but you also kind of understand why Xbox wanted that announcement, Like, you can't... So, Kojima did say that he's going to be at the Game Awards this year. He did say that at the Game Awards 2021. He said he will show up at the Game Awards this year. So, what I'm interested in is if that's where we're going to see the Xbox game, potentially for the first time, or if it's going to be something else. So, yeah, we'll see about that. Gerald, you're saying, I don't think there will be a state of play this week because Sony usually announces state of plays a week before. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily true, man. The chat, let's check this for a second. If I'm not mistaken, I could be, but if I'm not mistaken, I think Sony usually announces state of plays about 48 hours, like about 2 days before they do it. Sometimes 3. Am I wrong about that? Like, I'm pretty sure that's how they usually... I don't think it's a week. Yeah, state of plays are usually... Like, if they're going to do a state of play on Thursday, they usually announce it on a Monday or Tuesday. So I actually think it's the opposite, man. I do think that it's a situation where, because because it's a state of play, I think there's actually a higher chance we will get an announcement on a Monday or Tuesday. I think Sony does. I think Sony gives more time for showcases. I think. I can't even remember that correctly. But I think like Sony gives at least another extra day or two for the showcases to kind of build up the hype and the attention. But I don't know, man. I'm really hopeful. I am. Because we need something to be excited about to an extent. I'm not saying that PlayStation needs to be in any kind of rush or anything, but it's just the timing feels right. That's all. I just feel like this is it, man. Like especially that tweet from the snitch. I'll tell you that if that didn't happen, we probably wouldn't even be having this conversation, at least not in the same way. But it's a big deal that he tweeted about it. And you know, a lot of people basically are just like, yep, there we go. Like, it's happening. And I kind of feel that way. Like, I feel like, yep, it's finally here. It's finally happening. So I hope, man. I would be very surprised if we didn't get anything. I'll put it this way. I would be very surprised if we didn't get new God of War footage next week. Now, here's my question. If we do get a state of play for God of War, and I don't mean to be the person. I guess I'm just always thinking ahead. Just because I'm like thinking about July and I'm thinking about August leading into September. If Sony does do a dedicated state of play for God of War this week, what happens after that? Because by that point, I mean, everything is set, man. Like, everything is good to go. I mean, if we get a state of play for God of War this week, it's definitely coming out this year, okay? So the remainder of 2022 will be set for Sony. We're looking at Stray up next in July, Roller Dome in August. Now, those are smaller games, granted, but in September, The Last of Us Part 1, in October, Forspoken, and presumably in November, God of War. Sony's got pretty much every month covered at that point, except December, but in December, Callisto Protocol, right? I keep wanting to call that game Callisto Protocol. I don't know why. It's weird. I don't know what's going on with my brain there. But it's looking like the remainder of 2022 is going to be very solid. And so Sony's still sitting on PSVR 2. And I think it's safe to say, like, can we all agree that PSVR 2 is not coming out this year? Right? Like, we can all agree on that, right? Because if PSVR 2 was coming out this year, they would have had to have talked about it by now in a more significant way. There's just no way that they would be sitting on it unless they have a showcase next week featuring PSVR 2. I think it's safe to say it's coming out early 2023. So at that point, the stage is now set where we have the remainder of 2022. And I just want to say this as well. Oh yeah, and also Hogwarts Legacy is apparently still supposed to come out this year. So 2022 is set, man. You know, like I feel like getting a release date for Hogwarts and then the release date for God of War. Those are pretty much the two big unknowns right now that if they are both locked in for this year, then holy shit, 2022 is set. So at that point, you know, really quick, PS3 Gaming Scotland, I'm 8-bit doing a physical PS5 edition for Stray. Did they say when is that coming out the same day? Because I wanted to get a physical copy of that as well. I haven't seen an update on that. Maybe you can help me out there. Billy Too Smooth, you're saying, hey, ABG, just wanted to say hello. Have a great Sunday. Sundays are the start of my weekend. I plan on putting time in Forbidden West. Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate the super chat. And enjoy, man. Enjoy. I'm glad you're putting more time in the Horizon because that game is awesome. Playing it at the right time, too, with the new update, for sure. But yeah, I want to get that physical copy of Stray. Yeah, they said it's to be announced. Okay. I'll have to keep an eye on that. But yeah, that's coming from I Am 8-bit. They're doing a physical copy of Stray. So anyway, getting back on the topic here, it seems to me that Sony ultimately has 2022 locked in. And I just wanted to say before going any further that there is something to be said for Sony's, if they put God of War out this year, that means Sony got out Horizon Forbidden West, Gran Turismo 7, and God of War Ragnarok. Now, those are from PlayStation Studios directly. They've had other games that have come out as well. But, holy, like, that's huge, man. Like, I would have never thought that there would have been a year where we got the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn and the sequel to God of War in the same year. Again, assuming that God of War hits its 2022 date from PlayStation Studios. And I just think that if that's what we're looking at, then my God, you just see a type of consistency from Sony where I guess this is just what we can expect from them, man. And the Last of Us Remake. Yeah, I forgot that too. See, this is what I mean. I'm losing track of these games. Sony's been on point. This is why a lot of times when I've seen so many people hype up, and I don't mean I'm not diving deep into this conversation because we've had it many times, but it's just worth mentioning here. Yeah, we get games like Sifu, Forspoken, but this is why whenever Microsoft announces like an acquisition and I see the hype levels just skyrocket for Xbox and all throughout social media, like everybody's talking about they're going to have all these games and they make all these charts and stuff. And that's all fine, well, and good, but it's just like there's more to it than that. You know what I mean? And I think that there's an entire process that now has to be dealt with on Microsoft's end that Sony already dealt with that many, many years ago. Like Sony already figured it out. And I think they figured it out at the beginning of the PS4 generation. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was a quote from Sony, I believe in 2014, or was it 2015? It was 2014 or 2015, where they basically came out and said, like, yeah, our game releases are going to be a bit sparse this year. And it was like kind of a crappy thing to have to hear because Sony just literally had to come out and say, like, yeah, we're not really going to have as many games coming out. And I think it was because they were in a process of like, yeah, you guys are gonna have to wait a little bit, but we're getting things sorted out. Like we're in the planning stages and we're basically mapping out our pipeline. And it seems like they just kind of wanted to make sure, no matter what going forward, like they're not gonna have these like extended periods of time where they just can't deliver games and they don't have content. And that's why I just think it's insane that, like, you know, people still talk shit on PlayStation to a degree, and they have their reasons. I'm not saying PlayStation is perfect, but they talk their shit. But they completely, seemingly, they either overlook this fact about PlayStation and the way that they're handling their studios and their game releases, or if they're not overlooking it, they're severely downplaying it. And I just think that that's crazy to me because, I don't know, like, isn't that what this is about? Like, new video games, video game releases? Not just necessarily the competitive aspect of Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, Steam. I just think that that's crazy, dude. I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to say that if Sony manages to get God of War out this year, when you think about how great this year has already been, and we're just a little over halfway through it, I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed, and I think that what it signals is that the PS5 generation may end up blowing the PS4 generation out of the water, and that is saying something because, yeah, I don't know. I'm just impressed. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Let me see. Kipford, you're saying Bernie Stoller, SCE America founder, has died at the age of 75. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I saw that. I'm not familiar with the individual, honestly, but it seems like he had a pretty big impact in the creation of PlayStation and making PlayStation what it is today. So, you know, rest in peace. Obviously, he I mean, you could probably, again, I don't know much about the individual, but I feel confident in saying that considering his position and the role he played, PlayStation as we know it today maybe wouldn't exist without him. So appreciate his work for sure. And so, yeah, I just, at this point in time, everything seems set up for Sony to come out here. I don't know when exactly. Like, I'm going to say September. I think that after Sony, if they do a state of play for God of War, if they do a state of play for God of War this Thursday, after that, I think Sony could probably just spend the remainder of July and even August just kind of drip feeding new information, interviews, the whole thing, you know what I mean, and new trailers, and just kind of having that weekly marketing where God of War is constantly being talked about leading up to its release. And so this leads me into something else that I want to discuss with you guys, because I do think I think it's pretty important to highlight. I referenced it earlier, but Sony officially confirmed that they are not attending Gamescom this year. And that does come off as a bit of a surprise because Sony usually attends Gamescom. They usually attend Gamescom. And when they do, they usually have a significant announcement of some kind, usually like a release date announcement. One of their big first-party games or exclusives shows up. And Gamescom, this is something else that's very important to understand about Gamescom. Gamescom happens at the end of August. So I'm beginning to wonder, like, is it possible that Sony could be planning a showcase for, I don't know, September 1st? September 1st is on a Thursday. So that's a date. Could it be September 8th, September 15th? These are all Thursdays. That's normally, I think, when Sony does their shows. But I do honestly believe that Sony not attending Gamescom is a very clear indicator that they have their own thing they're doing. Because it would be much more likely that Sony would feel the need to attend Gamescom with something, to kind of keep the hype going or whatever. And so I don't know, man. I guess if this is all speculation on my part, what I'm thinking Sony's plan might be here, I'm thinking Sony might feel like, you know what, we will allow God of War to carry PlayStation and the conversation for the remainder of, I don't want to say the entire summer, but leading up to September. We'll let God of War carry that. And obviously, maybe there will be a little something from Forspoken. Maybe we'll hear something from some third parties on their own. There will obviously be other gaming news. But I really think that at this point in time, considering Sony, as at this point, seems clear they're not doing a full showcase in June. I don't think they would do it in July or August. The writing seems to be on the wall. They're aiming for September. And I guess here's another question I have for you guys. When Sony does finally do their showcase, how big do you think it's going to be? Because I feel like last year Sony kind of held back. They had like a 40-minute show. It's like 10 minutes of first-party stuff. Do you think that they could go a lot bigger? Like, do you think that they could? Because, I don't know, they seem like they're sitting on so much stuff, man. I'm not saying that they would feel the need to reveal everything, but I do feel like they would probably, I don't know. I feel like that they would probably try to make it go bigger. I don't know. Make it be bigger. Make it be more of a spectacle. Show some stuff. That's just my guess. But yeah, just to kind of close out this topic before I move on here, I feel like it's a safe bet. If you're somebody like me who's like, I think Sony's doing a state of play next week, I think it's okay to have that expectation. I do. I mean, we are taking a little bit of a risk, right? We're taking a little bit of a chance, but considering where we are at this point, I feel like it's going to happen. And I don't necessarily think anybody's getting their expectations too high by expecting that. So that's where I am with God of War. I'm hoping, this is the final thing I'll say, I'm hoping that the game, it's announced that I'm hoping it's announced that it comes out this year. If we find out that it like got delayed to 2023, it's okay. I'll accept it. You know, I'm not going to be that upset or throwing a fit or anything like that. But you know, I'm still hoping it's coming out this year. All right. Now, with that being said, I want to talk about, let me see here. What should we talk about next? We have the new hardware that's about to be announced in 2 days from Sony. We could talk about that. We could talk about Ghost of Tsushima 2 and how it seems that Sucker Punch has confirmed they're working on it to a degree. We could talk about PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium. We could talk about the PlayStation shortage coming to an end, seemingly. What would you guys want to talk about? People Investigator 69, you're saying, hey, really quick, if you are into metal music, I need everybody to check out Metal Hellsinger demo that dropped last week on PSN. Just trust me. Yeah, dude, I keep forgetting about it. I keep forgetting about that. I'm going to thank you for reminding me. I'm going to have to download that and try it because I honestly, I keep forgetting that there's a video game that is about to come out that is featuring metal music and shooting demons. So, all right, let me see. But yeah, apparently it's a free demo on PS5, guys. Go check it out. I want to say real quick, by the way, I see people keep talking about the game Pragmata, and I'm not sure if people, isn't Pragmata, I'm like 99% sure it's a multi-platform game. I don't think it's exclusive. I think people might be a little confused on that. Excuse me. Yeah, okay. I'm glad I wasn't wrong on that because I see some people talk about it like in the context like it might be an exclusive, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I was pretty sure that I heard that. All right, let's talk about, I don't know. I'm not sure what I want to talk about right now. In case you guys, I don't know if it's been obvious today or not, but I'm not feeling 100%. So I highly doubt this podcast is going to go for like 4 hours. Might be on the shorter side today. My voice is struggling. I don't know why. Like my throat's getting really raspy and sore. And I feel like I'm not even talking that loud. And I don't think I'm sick. I think it's mostly allergies, if I had to guess. I might have to just bring the mic closer and talk a little bit quieter. Saying let's talk about the shortages because those days are soon over. Okay, we could talk about that for a little bit. So, yeah, for those who are unaware, there was a report that just came out from Digitimes, and in the report, what they revealed is that the component shortage that is affecting the PlayStation 5 and has been affecting the PlayStation 5 since the launch in 2020 is easing up. And it seems like it actually may potentially be coming to an end. And we are potentially looking at a situation where the shortage could, I don't want to say be completely over, but be to a point where it's not really affecting the PS5 like almost at all or anywhere near as much as it was by the end of this year. And the reason why I think we might want to pay close attention to this and pay attention to any updates we get on this is because I really believe that a big reason why Sony has been operating the way they do, I think like a big reason why they are seemingly more quiet than they otherwise would be. Why it seems like they're more hesitant to have a bunch of big reveals at one time. Why they seem to be trying to stretch things out as far as they can. I really do think a big reason for this is because they are not able to sell enough PS5s. So I kind of feel like if Sony is beginning to see, as we get closer to the end of this year, that they're selling more and more PS5s are becoming available, I think this will maybe end up changing how Sony operates for the better, for the PlayStation fan anyway. Now, I want to check this out real quick. PS5 outsold. I saw there was some articles running around. So it says that the Xbox Series X and S outselling the PS5 in Japan as Sony is hammered by supply issues. So this was June 24th. So that was just 2 days ago. It says Xbox is outselling the PS5 in Japan as Sony struggles with supply issues. According to Famitsu, the Xbox Series console family sold 6,695 units during the period from June 13th to 19th, which eclipses PS5's 3,035 sales. While Sony remains ahead of the Xbox in terms of Japanese sales overall, this marks the second time this generation that weekly sales have been significantly in Microsoft's favor. It says here, it's thought that Sony is currently suffering PS5 shortages on the back of supply chain issues. IGN Japan staff report that it's simply more difficult to find a PS5 in Japan than the Xbox consoles. They're just easier to come by. So look, here's something that I do want people to consider when we're talking about this. I think that somebody says Xbox outselling in Japan and yet have not reached 300K sales while the PS5 is already at 1.8 million units. You see, that's the thing here. I think people are not realizing that you can tell that this is just something to write up headlines. People are not realizing that. I'm pretty sure Sony is choosing to not put as many units into Japan right now because they do have a very comfortable lead over the Xbox. And we know that console gaming is not necessarily at the forefront in Japan right now. I could see Sony shifting a massive influx of PS5s to Japan when like Final Fantasy comes out, right? But right now there's not much going on. I think that that's something people need to kind of keep in mind when we talk about this, is that Sony kind of gets to determine where their shipments go, like where their supply is going. And I think that the Japanese market is not, as of right now, you know, knowing that Sony only has X amount of units to allocate. I don't know, man. I do not think that Sony's that worried about Japan. And I think that these articles that are written up are just kind of like, they're fucking nonsense. You know what I mean? It's just like, just stop, you know, like why are people, somebody asked me the other day, they're like, how come you don't talk about sales anymore? And be just like, why should, like, there's no reason to talk about sales for either console, for any console right now, until we hear that the shortage is over and these units can be produced, you know, to any degree. What's the point? It's not like I'd be out here bragging if it's like PS5 outsold Xbox. Like, yeah, it seems to be a back and forth thing where 1 week or 1 month Xbox outsells PlayStation and next month PlayStation outsells Xbox. It's a matter of allocation. I will say, though, Xbox is doing better this generation. And I think that's really what people should be focusing on. It seems like Xbox is, you know, you could clearly see how the PS4 just ran away with it last generation. And that was because Microsoft just completely shot themselves in the foot. And they didn't do that this generation. I think Xbox is still struggling in some areas, but I think that they've won the battle of the I don't know. I feel like Xbox has won the battle of winning over some good mind share and some goodwill. And I think that that's helping the console a lot. And I just still think it would be so interesting to see where the PS5 and the Xbox Series consoles would be if there wasn't, if there wasn't a shortage. I genuinely wonder, would the Xbox be keeping pace with the PS5? How many more millions of units would the PS5 have sold? Yeah, they've won the PR battle. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like the Xbox went kind of quiet, guys. I don't know how Xbox fans are feeling right now. I think that one of the things that will be very interesting to see in the coming months, actually for the remainder of this year, and I'm serious about this. Everybody's been talking about Game Pass, right? I mean, that's been the big thing, that everything we've been hearing, or that everybody's been saying, and everything we've been hearing about Xbox for a long time now. It's been Game Pass. Well, now Sony officially has their own thing now, right? Sony has PlayStation Plus Extra, and they have PlayStation Plus Premium. And from this point forward, it's interesting to think that every month, Sony's going to be doing some drops into their service, just like Microsoft does. And I just can't help but wonder if maybe Sony has some pretty big plans for the remainder of this year where they really might want to they really might want to try and maybe contend with some of this Game Pass marketing, because this is an area, I know we're shifting from console sales, but this is an area where I feel like Sony has been losing the battle. It's not really their fault. It's just their business model is different. But I'm just excited in a way. Like, I don't care about PlayStation Plus Extra that much right now. I'm not subscribed to it. I'm not really interested in Premium. But I am very interested in seeing how Sony tries to maybe start taking some of this mind share back. Because even though Sony is doing great with their studios and their games, which is the most important thing, they're constantly ensuring that there is content, that there are game releases. I really want to see what type of games they're going to be adding to the service. Because I think having a game like Stray for July is a pretty good win. You got that game Roller Dome in August, and I think these games fit perfectly. And I just saw, and I'm probably going to make a video covering this, I just saw that apparently there is some evidence that Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is next up to join PlayStation Plus Extra. And this is interesting because it seems like Sony's threshold as of right now for their exclusive games going into PlayStation Plus Extra, the threshold is 1 year minimum. Because we saw Demon Souls, but it's been well over a year. The game that was closest was Returnal. Returnal joined PlayStation Plus Extra, or is there at the launch of PlayStation Plus Extra, just a little over a year. Just about almost exactly, I think 1 year and a month, 1 year and 2 months, about that. I think that's where it's at. So you take a game like Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, if Sony announces in the middle of July that Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is joining PlayStation Plus Extra, that means it's been about a year and a month. And there it is. And, it's weird because they'll die on this hill, man. Like there are some people when that happens and they're already saying it, where they're like, Sony's going to do day and date. They're getting close to it. And like, I don't know that that's true. I don't like, you really have to wonder, how well is Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart selling right now? I mean, you could argue that people are picking it up with PS5s, and there's no doubt they are, but they must not be picking them up. Like, it must not be selling that well, because it already did its numbers, just like Returnal did. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is I don't know how important long-term sales are anymore to Sony. I really I'm not sure because when we talk about celebrating games like God of War, remember when they came out and they were like God of War sold 19.5 million copies, which is insane. Like that's like holy shit, what? Since it launched. But you have to consider, like, are they counting anybody who played it or got it through the PlayStation Plus collection? Did they count those numbers? I'm just saying this because these games, even games that are selling years down the line, I mean, how many of those copies of God of War were sold for like $15, $10, and Sony's like not really making much money off of them. So yeah, they're counting everything. So I think what we're really seeing here is Sony, I think, is banking on getting those initial upfront sales of, I don't know. I mean, let's take God of War Ragnarok, for example. How many millions of copies is God of War Ragnarok going to sell in its first year on the market? I mean, I could see it hitting like 7, 8. No, I could see, honestly, because it's on PS4, I could see it getting pretty damn close to 10 million, dude. I really do. I could see God of War Ragnarok getting pretty damn close to 10 million in its first year. And so, I don't know. It just seems like Sony may have a pretty good formula at work here where get your upfront sales, and when that slows down, go ahead. Put your game on the PlayStation Plus Extra. Give it life somewhere else. You're saying Ghost of Tsushima sold 8 million in a little over a year, and this is God of War we're talking about. Yeah, maybe I'm undershooting it, man. I might be undershooting it by a lot, potentially. Jacob, you're saying Sony should acquire an RPG studio like Microsoft do. I don't know. I don't know that Sony isn't already working on some RPGs of their own with some of their other studios. This is where I try to remind people that, like, guys, there's so much shit that Sony is working on. Like, we have no clue. We have no clue. They have so much. But I will say Sony does have a very good relationship with Square Enix, and they're leveraging that. You know what I thought was funny? I talked about Horizon Forbidden West, and I called it an action RPG, and oh man, people didn't like that. People got really upset. Seemingly, some people started getting triggered that I had the audacity to call Horizon an RPG, and I'm like, okay, like, I don't think it's that serious, but all right. Like, I mean, yeah, it's not like the deepest RPG, but it's I don't think it's that serious. If somebody wants to call it an RPG, call it an RPG. I mean, it is an action RPG, man. Like, I don't know why people are being so weird about it. But I'm not gonna fight with people. It's like, I'm just more concerned. Why are you getting so upset? Like, just who cares, man? I think some people get so upset because, dude, like, anytime you talk about something where it's like, what was it? Jacob here, he mentions Microsoft. Like, Microsoft, yeah, they bought a lot of studios, and now they're looked at as like the home of RPGs and whatnot. And it's like, yeah, that's cool, but that doesn't mean that other publishers aren't making RPGs. Like, it's just weird how defensive some people get. Chris B, you're saying Sony will probably be using their service to pull in sales from rental companies, Gamefly, GameStop, games with big sales numbers that have big used copy dumps. That's a really good point, actually. Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that Sony is just in the process of experimentation because they have to be. I mean, they're embracing PC for the first time ever in a very serious way. They are looking to expand into mobile, and they now have a new PlayStation Plus service. So experimentation is going to be important. I just think it's interesting that Sony hasn't really missed yet, if you think about it. You know, like Sony, as far as we know, Sony hasn't made a decision that just immediately hurt their bottom line. You know, they've been very thoughtful and strategic, and I think that's just how they're going to continue to be with all of these things. Like, I don't think it's going to hurt Sony's bottom line if they, well, it could, but I don't think it's going to. If they announce this month that, hey, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart's joining, you're going to see people, they're going to start to try to create a narrative where it's like, see, there's no point in buying these games. They're just going to dump them into these service. You'd be better off just waiting. And it's like, but who's going to wait? You know, I think that's what Sony is probably wondering. And I think that that's what Sony wants to test out. Who's going to wait? And I don't think people are going to wait, man. I don't. I know some people will, but I think it's a very small fraction. You know, like if I think the best question is like this. Anybody who is interested in Returnal, if you had known, like, let's just say Returnal sold, I don't remember. They announced numbers, right? You know what? I think Returnal's a bad example. I'm going to be honest. I think Returnal's a bad example because it's not a big hitter. It's a great game. It's not a big hitter. Let's talk about Ghost of Tsushima. Somebody mentioned that Ghost of Tsushima sold 8 million in so they announced Ghost of Tsushima's sales numbers in November of 2021. It came out in July of 2020. So August, September, October. So that's a year and 4 months. That's insane. Like, that is actually fucking insane. Now that I think about that, dude, Ghost of Tsushima, I think Ghost of Tsushima may have outsold The Last of Us Part 2. Now that I'm thinking about it. Because Ghost of Tsushima sold 8 million copies in 1 year and 4 months. It was just announced that The Last of Us Part 2 sold 10 million copies in... The numbers were from May of 2022. So that's about a year and, 10 months? Or wait, when did The Last of Us come out? In June? 11 months? The Last of Us sold 10 million copies in 18 months. I just think that's super fascinating to me. I wonder, like, I do wonder what the sales numbers are now of Ghost of Tsushima. And they did get the director's cut too. So you're saying, what does your source say about God of War State of Play? They didn't get back to me, so I can't tell you. I don't think I need a source at this point for that, though. I mean, so I don't know. I'm just saying that that's not a slight against The Last of Us. If anything, I'm just saying, like, that's fucking crazy, dude. That's crazy how successful Ghost of Tsushima is for a new IP. Damn, that's huge, man. Really happy for that. But I guess what I was originally trying to say, of those 8 million people, if they were told, and that Sony would never tell you this, but if there was a pattern set where on the 13th month or the 14th month of a game being out, it will be added to PlayStation Plus Extra. How many of that 8 million people would have said, okay, I'm not going to buy it. I'm going to save my money. I'm going to wait. How many? I mean, there's no way for us to know unless, there was some type of experiment actually done, but I'm going to say not that many. Like, I could see at the most maybe like, okay, so it sold 7 million copies instead rather than 8 million. Something like that. Because I don't know, man. I just think that most core PlayStation fans, I don't know. More than I think? Maybe. And that's the thing, man. You do think about the Game Pass effect, right? And I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be real right now. Like I get the impression. I'm not saying it's a fact because I don't know that it's a fact, but I get the impression that Game Pass, generally speaking, has discouraged people from buying games. I know that there have been developers that claim it's the opposite, and I'm not saying they're wrong. I mean, they would know. They would know. But I don't know. I feel like Sony has to be maybe careful because they don't want to, like, they just have to be careful if they set a pattern. You know, if they do set a pattern, they might in the long run see a certain effect, you know? You're saying the Game Pass effect is real. However, Elden Ring proved that FOMO is more powerful than the Game Pass effect. Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Yeah, I think there's something to be said for that as well. Pragmatic Cat, you're saying Celine from Returnal is your favorite character ever. Really? Yeah, she was a good character. I enjoyed her story. I really did. God, man, my throat is killing me today. I apologize. I don't know if it's I got my air conditioner right next to me. I don't know if it's because of the cold air or what. Himanshu Yadav, you're saying Sony does PlayStation so well because they rely on it heavily, but Microsoft has bigger fish to fry than Xbox. Let's be honest, Sony doesn't have anything even remotely close to Windows. I mean, you are using it right now. That's true. That is true. And that's, I guess when it comes to PlayStation and Xbox competing in the gaming sector, I mean, there's no doubt that Xbox's ambitions lie with Microsoft's ambitions. You know what I mean? Like, and I know you know what I mean, but it's interesting to think that something Sony does differently than Microsoft is that Sony as a company is very, very reliant on PlayStation. They have to be very careful that they don't make any, major mistakes because it could really hurt the entirety of Sony. With Microsoft, Xbox is not important to them. Just straight up, it's not. Like, Xbox could be erased tomorrow and Microsoft would still be one of the most valuable corporations in the entire world and one of the richest. That's the reality. I don't think Xbox. I do not think Xbox is making Microsoft any money yet. They just spent $70 billion, damn near $70 billion, to acquire somebody in the hopes that Xbox will eventually make them a lot of money, but not yet. And this is where you see. Yeah, Sony absolutely needs PlayStation to succeed. Sony cannot afford to operate at a loss. They can't even afford to operate at a point where they're just breaking even. They have to operate in the green with a profit. They have to be making a profit to a degree. At least that's the impression I get. The good news is Sony's been doing really good. They've been breaking records and stuff. And they're growing at a good rate. And yeah, that's the thing is, like, I know people make fun of Sony because they're like, oh, they're greedy. It's like, yeah, I don't know if you know this or not, but they're a corporation and that's literally their sole purpose of existence. Just like Microsoft, it is to acquire money and make as much as you can. Like, that's literally why they exist. I mean, it comes down to how they're going about making that money. But I guess I'm trying to say that, like, I'm okay with the way Sony's doing things. Like, I think that what they're doing with PlayStation Plus Extra is a really good look for them. I do. I think it's something that they've really needed for a long time, where it is a good look that it's like, hey, check it out. I know that everybody always wants to shit on Sony and be like, $70 for the games, they're greedy, blah, 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 upgrades. paying for upgrades, but it's like, yo, look, we have PlayStation Plus Extra. Check out all these games you can get. I think that it does a really good job, and it's, I think, a necessary thing that Sony kind of needs right now. I agree. The classic catalog is extremely weak. it really is. The classic catalog, I think, is kind of laughable, but the idea is it'll improve over time, right? Sony's not going to bring out the big guns at the launch. They're going to build it. Chris B, you're saying some people wait because of price. In college, I had to make hard choices. I was a GameStop / Gamefly goblin trying to get my fix. Yeah, and that's the thing, man. You think like, what we're going into, or the U.S. anyway, is going into a recession soon, or we're already in a recession. I don't even know anymore. But, it's just not, the economy is not in a great place. And even around the world, it's just, things are not great right now. And I think that this is another reason why I think it was actually really smart of Sony to do this now, because, more people may find that I do need to be a little bit more careful with my money than maybe I was previously. And I really had to think a lot harder about if I'm going to pay $70 for a game, and maybe it would be beneficial for me to wait, you know what I mean? And so on and so forth. And I just think it's a really, really good time for Sony to be involved in the value conversation, because it is true that, people at this point in time, there are people who are struggling financially, and there are going to be people who continue to struggle financially, but they also want to play video games. And obviously, I know people like, there's like that reaction that people have where it's like, well, if buying a video game is going to be make or break for you, you need to reevaluate your priorities. And I think that's just a little bit mean and unnecessary, because it's like, dude, like, people struggle financially. It doesn't mean that, they want a game, they want a game. I feel like at one point in time, everybody's kind of been there, right? Where it's like, maybe financially speaking, things aren't going your way, and you're not in the best position, but you still want to play some games, maybe you feel like you need to, you need something to do at past the time, whatever it may be. I don't know. But that's where I think that all things considered right now, Sony is in a good spot where they have the premium locked down, right? Like, they had the premium aspect locked down, or the high end, where it's like, we have big AAA hitters. We have big AAA hitters like God of War, Horizons, Forzas, the whole thing, Spider-Man's. And when these games launch, yeah, we're going to ask you to pay full price. $70. That's how much it's going to be for PS5. So if you want to partake early, you want to partake up front, you want to be, on the ground floor, it's going to cost you. But for those who maybe, can't afford it, or it's too much for them, you could still probably gain access to it. You're just going to have to wait a little while. And I think that's a good middle ground. I do. I think that's the best way for Sony to compete with Microsoft, because Sony could never compete with day and date. Sony's games would take a massive hit. They would lose their profits. I mean, you're talking about a company, or a publisher, I should say, that's selling tens of millions of copies of their games. It would be ridiculous for them to do day and date. They'd be out of their damn minds. They'd be crazy. So I think this is the best middle ground that they could have found. And I guess I'm just interested, as I said at the beginning of this conversation, I'm very interested to see how it works out, like how the conversation evolves and changes. Yeah, what Sony is doing right now is sustainable. Exactly. And I'm interested to see how the conversation, in particular on the internet and within social media and within the core groups, how it evolves, because maybe I'm the only one who thinks this, maybe not. I don't know. You guys tell me. I feel like the conversation around PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium, like when it was first announced and leading like up to it, it was not good. Like, I feel like people were like really shitting on it, and it was just not in a good position. But I noticed like Sony started to kind of change like the tune a little bit, And people started to become more and more positive towards it and feeling better. And now I feel like they're at a point where it's like, you're saying it's been praised a lot since launch. It has, but I don't know. I noticed that I guess there was just a lot of initial pushback from people when they were like, oh, it's not Game Pass. You know what I mean? It's not day and date. And I think that just naturally caused the negative conversation to ensue, but it didn't last long because people were like, okay, like, yeah, this is just how it is. I guess it's better than Sony doing nothing. And I think then Sony announced the catalog and they saw that the games that were going to be there and people were like, oh, that's looking better than I thought it would. And then, you got the classics. Some classics have trophies. And, the whole game trials thing, you remember that? People were losing their minds about how, like, paying for demos. And it's like, it's just a bunch of hoopla, like a bunch of people losing their minds over literally nothing. Where it's like, it turns out trials are just a small little feature that some people are going to be interested in. Yeah, and Microsoft's doing them too, right? Like, I guess it's because Microsoft's going to do something similar, so we won't talk about that anymore. The narrative's always changing. It's useless to try to keep up with it. Pragmatic Hat, you're saying it's not a recession, it's inflation coupled with quality increase due to the war. MacBook Air just increased by $200, but now it's blue and supercharged. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. When isn't crazy shit going on anymore? I mean, it just feels like it's so, like, there are just times, man, where I just feel like I just want to completely disconnect. Really, like that. I have to say, like, it's such a great time to be playing Final Fantasy VII because I really needed a game that I don't play it constantly, like I know that there's some people when they play a game, they can just sit down and just, I played this game for 30 hours in the past 2 days, like, or 3 days. Like, I can't do that anymore. But for me, it's more about the quality of the time I spend with a game. And so to have a game like Final Fantasy VII right now feels really good because I notice when I get, like, my mind's always like racing, and I always have a lot on my mind. And when I first boot up a game, I feel like I'm not totally in the zone. But I like a game like Final Fantasy because it just gets me in it quicker, I get, like, sucked into that world and it's just easier to kind of get lost in it. And I do notice that when the time comes when I have to put the controller down and take care of my obligations and responsibilities, I'm like, I guess I'll put this game down now. I don't want to, but I'm enjoying this. I don't want to leave. And that's why I think that's another reason why I'm playing it slow too, is because, like, I am enjoying the ride, man. And I don't want it to end too quick. Do I go camping or on hikes? No, dude, I don't think camping is ever something I would do. I'm not really an outdoorsman at all. Hikes, I mean, I'm not opposed to them. It's like Death Stranding in real life, right? No, but I exercise a lot. I do some sports and whatnot. I go out, not too much, but I actually probably should go out more. I don't know, man. Does anybody else feel like they're just, like, crazy antisocial sometimes? What the FMVG, no camping? Is that a crazy thing? I don't know. I'm not a camping doesn't sound fun to me. Like, camping sounds extremely stressful. I don't know. I know people are saying it's not. It's like the opposite. It relieves stress, but I don't know, man. To me, it just sounds like, all those things you take for granted and that are just easy. Imagine if they weren't and you couldn't take them for granted. Have fun. It's like, I could kind of see the appeal in it, but you guys are saying I got touch grass, MBG. Yo, I touch grass, man, just not in that way. To be honest, I've never been camping though. Like growing up, that's not, like, no one ever took me camping. That wasn't a thing, Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why I am the way I am today. But I don't know. Maybe one day I will. Maybe one day. Joshua says he smokes grass. I guess that counts as touching it. You're saying it's boring, bring alcohol? I don't know. I will be honest, though. Sometimes that does feel like that's something that's needed. You just got to, like, one thing I hate is getting a little bit off topic, but I mean, shit, it's not like I have much else to talk about. One thing I hate about our society and our world today is that it's too easy to be connected. And I know that sounds bad to some people, like, shouldn't you want to be connected? But like, I don't think so. No, I don't. Like, one of the things I hate is how the internet's just always there. And you can just, it's not just the internet, it's the information. It's like too much, man. It's too fucking much. And it gets overwhelming, and it's not just information, it's everyone's opinion. And not just everyone's opinion, but their mother's opinion and their grandmother's opinion, you know? And it's like, I just get tired of it sometimes, man, where it's like, man, I really just want to go. So maybe I will go camping. I don't know. Fuck it. Maybe that's something I'll do. You know, something will go horribly wrong for me. You guys won't hear from me for like 2 months. What happened? I got lost on a trail, had to survive in a cave for like a week or 2 weeks. Let me see. Rob, you're saying, or sorry, I got yeah, you're right. Maybe it's not the right type of connection. Let me see. We got Chris B, you're saying people also confuse first party day and date with third party. Sony's been doing day and date launches into their services since Rocket League. Yeah, that's true. We're gonna continue to see day and date launches with PlayStation Plus Extra. MBG gets attacked by a black bear. Yeah, that would be something that happens to me. I could see it. I'm that unlucky sometimes. But yeah, Sony will continue to do day and date launches, just not necessarily with their own games. So you're saying I'd rather have a PlayStation PC launcher to play outside the gamer room with the ability to carry save progress and trophies over to PlayStation Plus service streaming. Well, apparently Sony might be working on that, man. There was actually some... There were some job listings that Sony is apparently working on a PlayStation PC launcher. Some people said that they think that's a really bad idea. I don't know if they do something like that. I will be interested to see how it works out. Rob, you're saying, what up, MBG? I've never camped and don't plan to. Well, thanks, Rob. I'm glad somebody can relate to me, or I can relate to somebody. Yeah. I don't know. These days, maybe that, I don't know. Maybe that is what it is, though. You know, maybe I'm in a bit of a rut. I don't know if it's a rut. I still work out, you know, I exercise a lot. Still feels good. I go out still. I go to a lot of parks, you know, go to parks with the family, hang out. So I do get my fresh air, I guess, I touch grass, as you say. But I don't know. I think what I need now more than anything is to just start disconnecting a little bit more from the internet and from social media in general, because I just get so tired of, you know, seeing everybody's opinion on everything, and everybody's always just fighting, and it just feels like it's just one giant clusterfuck, man. Where it's like, this is just, it feels like it just ultimately turns into just a lot of noise. Just a lot of noise, and it's just like overwhelming. They don't want me to speak anymore. They're trying to disconnect me here. All right. Maybe I need to start gaming on my Xbox One X. I don't know about that, man. I don't know. It is chaos. Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like chaos. But anyway, let me see if I have anything else I can talk about. I mean, I don't know. So we do have the new hardware that Sony's bringing out. What do you guys think? That's actually something I did want to ask you guys. What do you think about Sony? So they're going to show off three new headsets, and they're going to announce 2 monitors. What do you guys think about that? I like the headsets. I probably will buy one, but I'm really interested in these monitors, specifically the 4K monitor. I want to know, like, you know, what size are they going to have? Different sizes for them? Are they going to be like 24 inch, 27 inch, 32 inch? Are they going to be like ridiculously overpriced? Because I feel like I'm probably going to want to buy one of these Sony monitors. I do. And I've always wondered that, honestly. Like, I've always wondered why Sony hasn't made gaming monitors. Because if you look into it, like, they just don't have any. And you think that they would be a company that would. You know, you got LG, Samsung, Acer, obviously, everything else, all the other brands. But it's just like, why wouldn't Sony? So I'm really interested to see what they do. You're saying the monitors will be ridiculously overpriced. I hope not, because, you know, Sony does that shit sometimes where it's like, so what's so special about your stuff? It's like, it's Sony. It's like, oh, okay. If it's quality, I don't mind. But what are your guesstimates, guys? What are your guesstimates? How much do you think the monitor is going to be, the 4K monitor? I'm thinking it's going to be $500. That's what I'm thinking. I think it's going to be $500, maybe $600. Eric Golden, you're saying, I like to touch on The Last of Us. The remake is for the trophy hunters. Prove me wrong. To 100%, it was trash. Too long, but with no multiplayer. It's trophy hunters. It's a trophy hunter's dream. Now I can play this game. Dude, you know what? Talking about that, I'm going to be honest, man. That is like one thing that is leaning me much more towards, I think I'm going to end up buying it, because I do kind of feel that. Like, do you think they're going to add a, what was that mode that they had in The Last of Us Part 2? It was like a permadeath mode, right? Where you just literally couldn't die. Now, let me ask you this. That permadeath mode, was it also extremely difficult? Because I remember people talking with The Last of Us 1 about the grounded difficulty. So is it like you have to beat it on grounded difficulty and not die? Because that sounds ridiculous to me. Trying to see you never tried the mode. It's like grounded permadeath. Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I want to see with grounded permadeath, one life, no mistakes. Dude, they better not add that shit to The Last of Us 1. Because that sounds like kind of stupid. If that's like a platinum requirement, no way, dude. That's for real gamers? Oh, okay. Permadeath. Oh my God. Permadeath. I feel like with the permadeath mode, though, couldn't you kind of cheat that a little bit? You could probably save scum, right? Do people do that? I don't know. I will be interested to see the trophy list in The Last of Us Part 1, though, because I mean, I do want to see like if they change a lot and what they maybe add or take out. We know they won't have the multiplayer, which is unfortunate in my opinion. Saying, by the way, talk about The Last of Us factions. I already did talk about it earlier. There's really not much else I could say. Not much else I could say. You're saying you don't have to be ungrounded to play permadeath and get the trophy. Okay. Well, that's a lot better. I don't know. What do you guys think? You think I should try to beat The Last of Us Part 1 in grounded difficulty? Think I could do it? Or maybe, yeah, I should be thinking about God of War too. Will you play with the community when PlayStation releases these multiplayer games? Game nights? Maybe. Yeah, maybe that's something we could do. I could see myself streaming a lot more. I don't know, man. I gotta think about what I want to do when it comes to streaming games. I do, because like I know that people would want to see that, and you know, they're just games that would make a lot of sense for me to stream. I almost feel like days like today, like this podcast, I feel like was a tough one because there really just wasn't a lot to talk about. I wanted to make sure to, you know, provide the weekly content for you guys. But it does make me wonder, like, days like today where there's just not a lot to talk about, would it be better to just stream a game for a while? Create a second channel for streaming games. It'll be perfect. Yeah, that might be something I do, potentially. I should stream the Quarry. Yeah, I mean, I feel like streaming a game like, I mean, I'm not now, obviously I'm in the middle of playing it, but, you know, I feel like there's obviously a group of people on my channel who really are interested in my experience with Final Fantasy, and I just feel like that would have been a game that, it would have been funny to stream that, and maybe I still can, maybe, I'm not making any promises, again, I'll have to see, but, you know, maybe at some point I can stream like a second playthrough or something. Yeah, we got to see you stream. You give big casual vibes. Well, dude, you know, as I get older, I am becoming a little bit more casual for sure. But I don't know. I still like a challenge, man. It's just I'm finding that as I get older, I'm becoming like even more particular. That's why I'm trying to like go outside of my comfort zone and play some different things. What do I think of the TMNT game? I don't know. I've never been into the TMNT. I don't know. I honestly have no opinion on it. Stream Persona 5 after Final Fantasy 7. I should play with the community. Well, you know, we'll see, man. I honestly do have some aspirations with some of the stuff I would like to do on YouTube. It's just that, you know, the problem is it is difficult to do everything that you want to do on one channel. Like with the way YouTube works, with the expectations that people have, it's harder than ever to like some people would think I'm insane, you know, right now for doing regular video content throughout the week and then streaming every week with a podcast and doing streams. Like some people won't even mix those two things together. Like, what, streaming on your same channel where you're doing videos? I don't mind. Like, I think it makes sense in this case, but I can see how like when you have a bunch of different content, it can get it too much. You know what I was even thinking, guys? You know what I was thinking? I was thinking, you know, Sony, they have some of these live service games that they're coming out with, right? So like a game that we frequently mention and that I'm very much looking forward to is the Last of Us Online game. This is going to be a live service game, as in they plan to support this game for forever. I was almost thinking about making like a second channel just dedicated to talking about like the Last of Us Online. I don't know what I would call it, but just like make a second channel potentially where it's like, because that's a game. Like, if my hope is that I get hooked on the game, you know, like that's the thing. Like that's why I'm like a multiplayer Last of Us game where everything's always evolving, and I could just cover that game perpetually on that channel and maybe be like a go-to source for the Last of Us Online and updates and stuff like that. You know, it's just a thought. I mean, you know, And like I thought about that too. Like, what if there is another SOCOM game and they take the same approach, like a live service SOCOM game, you know? Because I feel like at some point, that's the thing is like, at some point, they're the last of MBG. Yeah. I like it. At some point, man, like there's going to be so many games that Sony brings out. It's going to be impossible for me to keep, honestly, just from a time perspective, it's going to be impossible for me to keep up with everything. I'm going to try. And that's the thing is like a lot of what I do now on the channel is like news and rumor and leak based stuff, which is, I enjoy doing that. I like keeping up, but Sony's going to saturate, the market with a lot of games, man. And it's just, I think this is one of the things that Sony is trying to achieve with their live service games. What do you think one of the biggest problems is that Sony faces right now? I'll tell you, I think one of the biggest problems that Sony faces, and I think they identified this in the past couple of years, is their games generate some of the biggest hype that you'll see and some of the biggest excitement, but almost all of their games have been single player, and they can take up a lot of oxygen and they can continue to be talked about for months. But there is a point in time where people just stop talking about it and people move on. And it's not always part of the cycle, And I think that Sony kind of recognized that there are some games that do get picked up constantly. I mean, it's like they're constantly in the news. They're constantly being talked about. And I think Sony is they want to have a couple of these service games that can do that, where it's like, think about the time in between talking about God of War, right? Like the last time we really could talk about God of War in a really meaningful way before now was when they showed the trailer in 2021. And then maybe when we got our official update from Cory Barlog. That was about it. You know what I mean? Anything in between that, it's like, well, we could talk about the lore, we could dissect things, and we could try to dive deeper, but there's like nothing really, there's like no actual real movement happening, because they're busy working on the game. That's why I find it interesting. If Sony has like a successful live service game, it's like anytime in between they're dropping information on their single player games, they're probably going to be doing shit with their live service games. I mean, imagine if Twisted Metal is just amazing. A live service Twisted Metal game that just is like, holy shit, this game's awesome. And it succeeds like big time. I'm not saying it's going to be as big as Fortnite. I feel like that's impossible, or like GTA Online, but it's just a really successful live service game. I just think the idea is cool. And like, I know that there are a lot of PlayStation fans that are like, I don't like live service, I don't like multiplayer, but if Sony can find that good balance, man, I think it will be great for all of PlayStation and anybody who cares about the PlayStation brand, Silverhawk, I think you're actually wrong. You're saying live service is a niche market. I think it's actually the complete opposite, dude. I think it's the complete opposite. I think that the reason why so many games are trying to be service games, successful ones, is because it's been proven that these games can appeal to literally hundreds of millions of people, especially if they're like free to play. It looks like my stuff's lagging out a little bit. Tom R, I read that one already. Sewell, you're saying, trust me, you need to play Tales of Arise. I heard good things about that game. Magnum Visuals, you're saying you should try Battlefield 2042. The game is amazing now. I don't know, man. I don't know about that. Pragmatic Hat, you're saying it doesn't work for individuals when they open a second account unless they have a staff like Linus Tech Tips. The audience splits. I've seen this repeatedly. Learn from others' mistakes. Well, I mean, here's something that I want you to think about. Okay. And I really want you to, maybe this isn't something that you guys have to think about so much. I think this is something that I've thought about really deeply because I'm a content creator specifically for PlayStation. If you look at these successful live service games, think of the big juggernauts: GTA Online, Fortnite. I mean, I guess you could say Rainbow Six Siege. I think that's still considered a juggernaut. Apex Legends. And there's others that I'm failing to mention. You guys can give me any games that I may have forgot. But what I want you to focus on is how these games are so big. Yeah, Call of Duty is also, Warzone. I don't know how I forgot that one. Minecraft. Exactly, yeah. These games are so massive that there are entire communities of content creators. People have channels that are dedicated to just one game. And these channels can just stick with this one game. Yeah, Destiny. How could I forget that, right? Yeah, fuck, man. And Marvel's Avengers, obviously. And they can stick with these, like this single game, because the game just always had, like literally every week, there's some new shit going on, and people want to be updated. They want to Final Fantasy 14. Yeah. And here's something to consider. PlayStation is literally developing 12 live service games. 12. Some of which are coming from their biggest studios. All Sony wants, Jim Ryan literally said this himself, all Sony wants is one or two of these games to hit big. Sony wants this, and they want it bad. The fact that they have 12 of these games in development should tell you just how bad Sony wants to get one of these. They want to hit that. They want that unicorn, man. Even, Microsoft tried it with Halo Infinite, Babylon's Fall. Oh, man. Yeah. And a lot of games fail. Sony did try it with a game like Destruction All-Stars. And I think Sony realized with Destruction All-Stars that, holy shit, this is a lot harder than we thought. Like, and that's why they bought Bungie, people. Like, they made the biggest acquisition in their history, in PlayStation's history, for Bungie for this reason. Now, I'm going on this tangent here about this because I don't know, man. Like, I think we are on the precipice of seeing Sony achieve something that they've simply never achieved before this generation. And I guess I'm visualizing this from like a content creator standpoint, where I'm already a PlayStation content creator, right? And I talk about the games that come out. I mean, dude, there was a period in time. I don't know how long you guys have been following my channel, but there was a time where I could have been seen for like a year as a Last of Us channel. I didn't just exclusively talk about The Last of Us, but I was like a go-to, like one of the only main sources for The Last of Us Part 2 news. And I remember, like, I would make these videos and there was so much interest in this game and hype surrounding it that anytime I would make a video and we'd get an update from Naughty Dog, like the video would just do crazy numbers. And I remember there were like other times as well where I did the same thing for Days Gone, for Death Stranding, where I covered these games. And I noticed myself where I'm like, once these games come out, I mean, obviously we saw how, like, after The Last of Us 2 came out, I was no longer a Last of Us channel because, well, how could I be? No, it was the game was out. It was over, Some people continue to talk about it, but I'm just so interested to see how this works, man, because I want to just see what it's going to be like to get a game from Sony where it's like, we don't have to wait for a showcase. We don't have to wait for state of play. We don't have to wait for the game to be finished or close to being finished to get a new trailer and an update. It's like, we have new shit coming this week. I'm just super interested to see what it's going to be like to kind of navigate and talk about PlayStation and their content in that way, on top of obviously covering their single player games and everything they're doing in the single player area. I'm definitely interested in that because, again, I don't think Sony's ever gotten to that point. And And yeah, you can still have a story mode in live service games. That's worth noting as well. So I think that when you talk about The Last of Us Online, it's worth noting that one of the things that Naughty Dog said is they're going to have new characters and new stories. I mean, this is where that should give you a pretty damn good idea of what this game's going to be like. So it's exciting times. I know there are a lot of people, as I said, who hate this idea of Sony making so many live service games. There's a few things you want to keep in mind. The first thing is that that's not all Sony's working on. The reason why Sony, doubled and tripled and quadrupled the size of their studios, the reason why they bought more studios and they're still buying studios and they're growing, is because they're not going to stop making single player games. They're going to keep making their big AAA big hitter titles, but they want to expand beyond that. And you're saying live service games eventually die? Well, I mean, dude, yeah, if they're not successful, they do. Yeah. And that's the interesting thing to think. With 12 live service games, oh yeah, some of these live service games are going to die quickly, swiftly. And that's unfortunate because, it just sucks that it has to be that way. And you got to wonder, like, what are these games? What are these 12 games? And which ones are going to be the winners? That's what I want to know. Like, is Twisted Metal going to be a complete flop? Like, is that going to just be straight garbage? Or is that going to be great? Is this Last of Us game, like, is it going to somehow end up being really bad? Are they going to make a bunch of mistakes? I don't know. What about if they're... So, did you guys... Just imagine if there was a new SOCOM game, right? And they said, you know what? What if we made SOCOM a hero shooter? I mean, does that not fucking sound like a goddamn disaster about to happen? Because it sounds like that. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying, like, that's a reality. That is a possible reality that we could see. And this is where, who I think is actually going to make a really successful service game, or potentially really successful, considering the success of Ghost of Tsushima? Dude, I think Sucker Punch is going to create a live service game based in the Ghost of Tsushima universe. And I think that's going to be huge. Because, dude, I'll tell you right now, what they did with Ghost of Tsushima Legends was incredible. And that was like a little experiment of theirs. That wasn't even like a full-blown... that was not their full effort. So if Sucker Punch with Ghost of Tsushima 2, after that they release like a standalone multiplayer game similar to what Naughty Dog's doing, that could be huge. You're saying they already did that with Legends. What are you going on about? Dude, but I said dude, and your name is literally the dude. You have to understand what Sucker Punch did with Legends. What they did with Legends, that was an experiment, man. Like, that was not something, like, that was a test bed. They wanted to see, like, could we make a good multiplayer game with this? And they clearly were onto something, and people loved it, and they continued to support it. But trust me, that is not their full effort, man. They have very big ambition. After they saw how people were talking about Ghost of Tsushima Legends and being like, dude, this is a great multiplayer experience. You guys did really good. And they kept supporting it. But dude, yeah, that is like version 1.0. They're going to go big. They're going to go big with, I think, Ghost of Tsushima multiplayer. So, but honestly, guys, at this point, I don't think there's really anything else I have left to talk about or say. I'm going to have to maybe end this episode a little bit short, or keep it a little bit shorter than I normally do. You're saying, wasn't it also free? Ghost of Tsushima Legends was free if you picked up Ghost of Tsushima, but I think they charged $20 for it standalone. So you're saying prepare yourself for a pile of junk with live service game plan. I mean, look, man, like, we'll see. I'm not willing to call it yet. Like, I'm not going to say I'm not going to say that their live service games are going to fail, but I'm not going to say that they're going to succeed. I think that the fact that they have 12 in development, the chances of at least one of those games getting it right and doing well with the help of Bungie, like that's something we want to keep in mind. You're saying MBG, will vehicles be in factions too? Maybe horses? Yes. Dude, that's what I'm saying. I think there absolutely is going to be. For sure, man. Like, I think it's going to be huge. I think it's going to be massive. I think they're going all in. I mean, keep in mind, I just want to remind people, Naughty Dog literally said that their Last of Us multiplayer game is going to be bigger than their single player games. Like, it's going to be bigger than their single player games that they made. Take that for what it is, man. You know? So, we'll see. All right. Yeah, big map. That'll be cool. I can't wait, dude. I just hope it doesn't let me down. That's all. Like, I also have to wonder when Sony's going to reveal these games. I just want to leave you with this too. Guys, Sony literally said that they're planning on releasing, not revealing. Sony said they're planning on releasing 4, not 1, not 2, not even 3, 4 live service games in 2024. What the fuck are these games, dude? Like, you know, what are these games? Who's making these games? That's a lot. That is insane. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm going to remain optimistic for now. But, all right, that's going to do it, guys. I'm going to hop off. I hope that by this time next week, we have a lot more to talk about. And I'm hoping one of those things we can talk about is some new God of War footage. We'll see. Obviously, if there is a state of play, just so everybody knows, I absolutely, I will be streaming that, obviously, without a doubt. So I'm really hoping for that. All right, guys, that is Press X Podcast, episode 114. A little bit on the shorter side. I don't even think it's short. It's almost 3.5 hours. I still think that's pretty good. But yeah, this was a more relaxed stream, more chill. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I want to give a big thank you to everybody who donated a super chat. You guys are awesome. I appreciate your continued support all throughout the months. Obviously, lets me do what I do here. And I'll try to keep the content flowing. You guys have been showing some good support for the regular content as well. And yeah, you know, we'll see what this upcoming week brings. Big shout out to all of my channel members as well, and a big shout out to Devil Shooter for doing the timestamps on a weekly basis. So thank you for that, man. Saying that Batman shirt looking a little full, LOL. Yeah, dude, I think I outgrew it a little bit. It's okay though. Makes me look pretty buff. So at least I think so. Maybe not, but whatever. It is pretty tight. I think I'm gonna have to get a new one. All right, guys, that does it. I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point. I'm delirious. I'll catch you guys with the regular content, and we'll be back here next week, hopefully, with episode 115. But till next time, guys, take care.